When I was a young man, I carried me pack, and I lived the free life of the rover. From the Murray's green basin to the dusty outback, I waltzed my Matilda all over. Then in 1915, my country said, son, it's time to stop rambling, there's work to be done. So they gave me a tin hat and they gave me a gun, and they sent me away to the war. And the band played waltzing Matilda as our ship pulled away from the quay. And amid all of the cheers, flag waving and tears, we sailed off to Gallipoli. Well, I remember that terrible day when our blood stained the sand and the water, and how in that hell that they called Suvla Bay, we were butchered like lambs at the slaughter. Johnny Turk, he was ready, he'd primed himself well. He rained us with bullets and showered us with shell, and in 5 minutes flat we were all blown to hell. Nearly blew us back home to Australia, but the band played waltzing Matilda as we stopped to bury our slain. We burned ours and the Turks burned theirs. Then we started all over again. Those who were living just tried to survive in a mad world of blood, death and fire. And for 10 weary weeks I kept myself alive, while around me the corpses piled higher. Then a big Turkish shell knocked me arse overhead, and when I woke in me hospital bed, I saw what it had done, and I wished I were dead. I never knew there were worse things than dying, for I'll go no more waltzing Matilda all around the green bush, far and near. For to hump tent and heads a man needs both legs. No more waltzing Matilda for me. They collected the crippled, the wounded, the maimed, and they shipped us back home to Australia. The armless, the legless, the blind, the insane, those proud, wounded heroes of Supa. And as our ship pulled into Circular Quay, and I looked up the place where my legs used to be, I thanked Christ there was no one there waiting for me to grieve and to mourn or to pity. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as they carried us down the gangway. But nobody cheered, they just stood there and stared, and they turned all their faces away. So now, every April, I sit on my porch and I watch the parade pass before me. I see my old comrades, how proudly they march, renewing their dreams of past glory. I see the old men, all tired, stiff and sore, the weary old heroes of a forgotten war. And the young people ask, what are they marching for? And I ask myself the same question. And the band played Waltzing Matilda, and the old men still answer the call. But year after year, the numbers grow fewer. Someday no one will march there at all. Waltzing Matilda, Waltzing Matilda, who'll come a-waltzing Matilda with me.
And their ghosts may be heard as you pass by the billabong.
Who'll come a-waltzing Matilda with me.
Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal, tout ça m'est bien égal. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. C'est payé, balayé, oublié. Je me fous du passé. Avec mes souvenirs, j'ai allumé le feu. Mes chagrins, mes plaisirs, je n'ai plus besoin de balayer les amours avec leur trémolo, balayer pour toujours. Je repars à zéro. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal, tout ça m'est bien égal. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien, car ma vie, car mes joies aujourd'hui, ça commence avec toi.
Mum and Dad and Danny saw the passing out parade at Puckapunyal. It was a long march from cadets. The 6th Battalion was the next to tour, and it was he who drew the car. Eddie Canungra, Shoalwater before they left. And Townsville lined the footpath as they marched down to the quay. This clipping from the paper shows him young and strong and clean. And that's him in his slouch hat with his SLR and greens. God help him, he was only 19.
From Vungtau, riding Chinooks, to the dust of Newey Dak, I've been in and out of choppers now for months. We made our Tinser home VB and pin-ups on the lockers, and an Asian orange sunset through the scrub. And can you tell me, doctor, why I still can't get to sleep? And night time's just a jungle dart and a barking M16. And what's this rash that comes and goes? Can you tell me what it means? God help me, I was only 19. And a 4-week operation, when each step could mean your last one on 2 legs. It was a war within yourself, but you wouldn't let your mates down till they had you dusted off. So you closed your eyes and you thought about something else. Then someone yelled out, "Contact front!" and the bloke behind me swore. We hooked in there for hours, and it got a muddy roar. Frankie kicked a mine the day that mankind kicked the moon. God help me, he was going home in June. I can still see Frankie drinking tinnies in the Grand Hotel on a 36-hour rec leave in Vungtau. And I can still hear Frankie lying screaming in the jungle till the morphine came and killed the bloody row. And the ANZAC legends didn't mention mud and blood and tears, and the stories that our father told us never seemed quite real. I caught some pieces in my back that I didn't even feel. God help me, I was only 19. And can you tell me, doctor, why I still can't get to sleep? And why the Channel 7 chopper chills me to my feet? And what's this rash that comes and goes? Can you tell me what it means? God help me, I was only 19.
They have no grave but the cruel sea. No flower lays at their heads. A rusting hulk is their tombstone, a fast on the ocean bed. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Chequered Flag e-streaming. Tonight we are at Talladega for the ANZAC Round. So I am joined up here in the booth by none other than Mr. Ed Foster. Welcome to the booth, Ed, and thanks for stepping in. Don't know where our other little mate is, Carl. He said he may be here, but he may not, so it may be just you and I tonight.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me, Mark. It's almost become a little bit of a tradition, bringing me along for the commentary for the ANZAC Round, something which I'm always happy to be involved with. Such a big occasion and one that you guys do really, really well. So always happy to be a part of that.
Yeah, we've got a Grand Marshal, so we'll quickly get her once the cars are starting to grid, which I can see that they are. They're going to ask Lily Campbell very shortly to say those magic words for us. Welcome to the booth, Lily.
Hi.
bit of a big moment for you, mate. Well, we might see how we're going. We're almost done with the gridding. If my computer would behave itself, I'm still having some issues. So as we can see, all the cars there, Ed, all nice and quiet.
Yeah, everybody gridding up, getting ready for the big one. They'll just be getting all of their switches set and everything like that. Just waiting for the command.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we've got enough there. So, Lily, it's over to you. Can you say those magic words for us?
Which ones?
The gentlemen, start your engines.
Go, do it. Say it. Say it. You got to say it. Say it.
She's gone all shy on us, Ed. So we might just jump that. I'll do it.
Start 'em up.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Start 'em up, guys.
Alright, so that was an attempt anyway. So from Lily Campbell, good to have her involved. Big family thing, especially for the Campbells and all the vets out there as well. The Anzac Day occasion, so really good to have everyone getting involved, kids getting involved, everything like that. Love to see the families around. But what we might actually do just really quickly, because the cars are rolling off on their pace lap, is have a quick run through that starting grid. So we've actually got Jeremy Sumter. I haven't seen his name before, but he's come out flying with a pole position, and he's joined on the front row Joshua Carroll Walden. We've got Ryan Jones and Derek Jacobs on the second row. Third row, Shane Bowen and Paul Drady. We've got Ruben Phelps and Gary Wellman there, our fourth row. Fifth row, Mark Smith and Kobe Jordan. Then Lachlan Urquijo and Luke Yeager there at row 6, row 7, Norman Clark and Tom Williams. Jamie Nankervis and Scott Lefevre. Then Jared Williams and Matthew Beale. Tristan Koch, Wayne Van Billion, Tom Neal and Aidan Schultz. We're going as far down as the 12th row. We've got Adam Ariel and Stephen Williams. A little bit further back than we'd expect to see a DPR car, that's for sure, but he'll be looking to work his way forward. And then we've got Justin Allen and Philip Butler, Drew Fenton and Brett Campbell, Matthew Raymond doing his usual thing of late, starting down near the rear, Jake Saddington, and Carl Nedler and Adam Tice, rounding out a really strong field here, 32 cars.
Yeah, it's good to see such a good field out here tonight. So looking for some good action here. It always turns on some great action, Ed.
Yeah, it certainly does. The next-gen car has got a really good draft model for it for iRacing. It's probably the most accurate one of the lot. So expect to see guys utilising that, utilising the tandem draft, the side draft, all of those bits and pieces. You can even push the pusher a little bit in this car, which is a little bit unusual. But pace car's off. We're going to the green flag. Probably expect to see some to go quite late. He's not going to want to see a big gap between him and the car behind. So just see when he decides to drop the hammer. Probably be as late as he can possibly get away with. And it looks like they're all on the way now. So we've got the bottom rows actually formed up quite well. The top row not so much, so we might actually see the bottom row break out to a bit of an early lead. We've got one dropping down there as well. That looks like it might be... I'm afraid I've actually lost who that is. Gary Wellman in the green machine there, just jumping down to the bottom lane, because it doesn't look like the top lane got away as well. And we've got Ruben Phelps just pulling out of the draft there. He's probably going to drop to the back of the field to hang with his teammates for a little while. But yeah, everybody off to a clean start, and we're away. So everyone's going to start to get sorted out. We've actually seen the bottom lane check up a little bit, and the top guys, they've actually made a liar out of him. Shot right to the front. Looks like Ryan Jones to the lead, with Joshua Carroll Walden sitting in there behind.
Yeah, everyone's got away with a nice clean start, so that's good. Up front though, we've got a DPR car, Ed, leading an Atari car. So
yeah, nothing new about that old battle, is there?
I was just going to say, there's no love lost between these guys, and we can see already.
Certainly not. We all get on pretty well in the oval community around here, so yeah, there's no issues there. Especially not this early in the race. Anyway, I think JCW is going to be very happy to sit there and just try to see who he can push and who he can't and everything. And Ryan's fairly steady, so I think they'll get a good, sort of good rapport going there up the front. Interestingly about this next gen car, a lot of people don't like to lead in it because of the amount of fuel that you actually burn up leading that line. So I think that's the reason why you may have seen Sumter jump out of line and run, get back in line. He's sitting third in line on the outside of the top row at the moment, and has sort of left that bottom lane to it. We're actually just getting a lead pack, sort of the lead main pack of the first 20 odd cars, I think 20, 25 cars. Has sort of broken away, and we've got this little group a little bit off the pack at the moment. Looks as though Brett Campbell, Adam Tice, Saddington, Fenton, Nedler, Matty Raymond, Phil Butler, and they're not sort of helping themselves out at the moment either, because they're running side by side, and the one thing that you don't want to do when you fall off the lead pack is run side by side, because it slows you down. All of these guys, they need to get in a line and really focus on catching that lead pack back up. If they sit there 2 by 2, they're going to ruin their own races before it's even started. So they need to get themselves organised and quickly.
Yeah, it's a shame they've dropped off. There's a lot of teammates in there. All the SRM boys are there. So we'll just have to wait and keep an eye on that and see how that goes.
Yeah, I understand people sort of doing that. Yeah, starting from the pit lane and so on in some of the official races, it can get a little bit messy. But these league races are pretty clean. I'm not sure why you'd necessarily complicate matters by dropping to the back of the field trying to line up with your teammates from lap 1. It's just not necessary at this point, and we're sort of seeing that they're almost paying the penalty for that, because they are losing the pack. They're falling off massively, and they didn't need to. So, yeah, I guess if they get a caution or something like that, they might be able to catch back up, or if this lead pack starts running a little bit slow, they might start to catch back up, but it's just a risk they didn't need to take this early.
Yeah, definitely right there.
Alright, so we're still seeing the bottom lane fairly well unchanged. The top lane's just started to come forwards a little bit. It looks as though Sumter is still leading that outside line. I'm just getting used to picking his car. No, I don't actually think he is. I'm actually finding his car hard to pick because I don't know. I'm not familiar with it. But
it's actually Kobe Jordan, mate. So he's...
it is the 78 out front. Yeah, yes. Sorry about that. I was getting it all wrong.
So Kobe Jordan has just got his nose in front of Ryan Jones at the moment. And it's unusual to see that high line come in so quick on these super speedways. We normally see not come in until about lap 50 or so, Ed.
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, you've got 3 inside lane cars actually working together there on the outside lane. And they're obviously in communication. They're going to hook up fairly well. The bottom lane also might not be running flat out, because there's also the fuel saving thing, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later in a bit more depth. But it is something sort of particular to this next gen car, the fuel saving element of the super speedway racing. But yeah, it could just well be that they've got it sorted out, and they're pushing together quite well. Seems to be the case. That both the top lane and the bottom lane are pushing together reasonably well. They've got themselves sort of lined up and organised. But it's a long game. This, we've got 188 laps here. We're only on lap 6. So yeah, it's all well and good to be leading at the moment and running well, but you've got to be there at the end, of course.
Yeah, definitely right. It's only the one lap that really matters, and that's the last one, lap 188. You just got to buy your ticket to that last little part of the race.
Yeah, it's definitely a different dynamic with the next gen car. You can certainly, you can work all these things in iRacing because they've got it modelled properly, which they don't have in a lot of the, like the truck and the Xfinity car. They haven't really got the side draft and everything modelled properly yet on it. But when they release the next gen car, they've got that modelled really, really well. So you can work the side draft, you can get the tandem draft going and all those types of things. But the one thing is that and we've just heard this from the real-life Talladega race, and we saw it in the Daytona 500 as well, that fuel consumption is so important because the tyres don't burn off, so you don't need to be taking tyres at a pit stop. So the quickness of your pit stop, the amount of time you spend on pit road, is entirely dictated by the amount of fuel you have to put in. And if you can save that fuel, then you're going to go really, really well. It's going to jump you. It can vault you from the back of the pack all the way to the front if you have to put in less fuel than everybody else. And the big thing that you've got is these cars have got quite high power, but they've also got big spoiler on the back. They're very, very draggy. So you can save an enormous amount of fuel. You can run sort of 2/3 throttle, half throttle when you're sitting in there behind somebody. And when you pull out a line, it's like a parachute. The wind hits that rear spoiler and just drags you back. And it's not quite as bad in iRacing as it seems to be in real life, where the drivers are complaining about it a lot. If you pull out a line, you just drop to the back. You can, at least in iRacing, you can get a third line going and those types of things, which is very, very difficult to do in real life by all accounts. So it's a little bit different in that way, but certainly in terms of the fuel saving and the importance of it, it's very much lifelike. So you're going to see a lot of guys who do not want to lead this early on.
And we just see there's someone moving up to the high line to see if they can get anyone take us, but there's no one up there with him, so he's going to be left out and high and dry there, Ed.
Yeah, I don't think that was intentional, actually. There was a little bit of a wobble going on, a little bit of bumper chasing going on, it looked like, in that top line. And it looks as though one car's just kind of been bounced out of line there and wasn't able to get back in. So he kind of wound up top on his own and kind of slid down towards the back a little bit. But he's still in the draft. He'll be okay.
Yeah, so we might just run through some of our international drivers here. Jerry Sumpter. He's a new guy into the league tonight in the 022, but he actually is showing up on our timing screens as number 9. So having a few little background glitches with the software tonight, but we'll sort it out. Next person that we'll check out is Derek Jacobs. He's sitting way down there in 23rd at the moment. He's another one of our American drivers. And of course we've got a few Kiwis in there. Ruben Phelps from SRM team, the 06 car there. Carl Needler sitting in there behind him. No, that's not. It's sitting third in that line. Behind
quite a lot of Kiwis in this in our series. Of course, we've got a really good mix of Australians and Kiwis, and a few people like Norman Clark, born in South Africa, now of New Zealand, of course, as well. So nice little international, at least as far as our part of the world is as well. I'm just taking a little look at this this lower pack, and it really needs to get itself sorted out. They're single file, but they're not really well lined up. There's a big gap. A couple of really big gaps in there. There's a couple of cars running side by side that just makes no sense at all. They really need to get themselves arranged and close and pushing on, because they're going to get lapped at this rate if they don't sort themselves out. And I don't understand why you'd be racing so hard to be 24th. Let's get in line and push back up to the top pack and make a race of it. So they need to get themselves sorted out, or we're going to be talking about them again in a few laps dropping a lap.
Yeah, definitely right. Just found the Norman Clark there. He's up in 18th position with his teammates, the VRV Sports, all running Toyotas this year. And they've had a good good showing this season so far. Jamie Nankervis there in the number 8 Toyota last time out at Martinsville got the race win. So he's looking for a good result again tonight. So we'll have to just keep up and keep an eye on what goes on with those Valve cars. I do know they had some great speed in their practice sessions that they were running through the week.
Yeah, definitely. Valve is one of those teams that's come along and you know, being made an impression in their first season. A lot of their drivers very experienced, of course, but they've come along and they've made an impression straight up. You know, we've got other guys out there like the Cobalt Racing guys as well. We've got Quantum there as well. So, you know, every year you'll see a couple of new teams show up, and it's really good to see them sticking around and doing a really good job. We've just actually had a couple of comments come through on the YouTube broadcast, Mark, wondering if it's possible to actually get the scoring pylon or a tape up there to actually show the positions of everybody, rather than us having to read them out to everybody. So at the moment, nothing's showing there on the picture, but if we could get something out like that so everybody can follow their favourite driver, that would be brilliant.
Well, Kobe Jordan makes a clear getaway to take the race lead off Ryan Jones. And Jonesy now back up onto the high line, trying to get that draft happening and get back down in front.
I was just about to say Ryan Jones would be more than happy to have the car drop down in front of him to help him save a little bit of fuel. He's been out front for a while now, and no sooner am I about to say that than he just slots out of the draft and jumps straight back into the line again. So we can see definitely what his plan is tonight. He wants to lead the entire way, fuel be damned, I think. So, yeah, he's just made that move around Kobe Jordan. He slotted back down there in front of him, which relegates JCW to third on that bottom line. And we've got a nice little push on the outside coming. That looks like Luke Yeager, I believe, getting pushed towards the front. Luke Yeager, looks like potentially Sumter in there. We've got Yeager on that high line as well. Matty Beale, he's out there too. So we've got a nice little outside pack, just sort of pushing towards the front. Both rows fairly even. Nobody seeing the need to go 3 wide just yet, although there is one up there towards the wall a little bit higher. Looks like he might be having a look, but it seems to be up there all on his own. Nope, there's actually one up there joining him. And yeah, so we've got just as I say that, they seem determined to make liars out of me tonight. As soon as I say nobody's going for the top lane, a few cars jump up there. Looks like Tristan Koch making that run there up the top. He's got a Quijo with him. And they're going to try and push together, but it seems like they're the only two up there, and it's really hard to get a bit of momentum going with just the two of them. And it doesn't seem to be working at the moment. They need a couple of cars to jump up there and join them if they're going to make that run work. But I think this stage of the race, we're going to see quite a few guys be reluctant to do that. There's always a little bit of added risk when you shoot out up there. But I'm just taking a look at some of the cars occupying that top line at the moment. And we've got Adam Ariel there. He's in a really nice ANZAC sort of, looks like a army-inspired camo scheme there. Aiden Schultz, he's another one. He's got a nice ANZAC scheme there. And the VSK, Wayne Van Billion, he's got a really nice camo scheme on that car as well. So there's quite a few ones out there tonight who've really got into the spirit of the occasion. Tristan Koch being another one. In fact, I think even Aquijo is running, he is a nice sort of blue camo livery as well. So the camo very popular amongst the guys paying tribute to the ANZACs, and it's really good to see guys getting into the spirit of the occasion tonight as well.
Yeah, all the Valve E cars too have got some great paint schemes on, as we can see there. The 22 car of Tom Williams. Yeah,
definitely. And painting these cars isn't the work of a moment either. You know, they put some serious effort into these the paint schemes on these cars, and for them to come out and put that amount of effort in to do a paint scheme up for one single race is really good. Obviously, everybody here very keen to recognise the occasion, and I don't think anywhere does the whole ANZAC occasion better than the guys here at Aussie Outlaws.
Now I do have an apology from Aiden Schultz. He is supposed to have number 52 on that car, but for some reason his number hasn't decided to load. And all those cars at the moment have got a little bit of a tribute on the roof to my mate from last year that unfortunately things got the better of him after returning from overseas and took his own life, and that is a real problem amongst vets at the moment. There's just not enough stuff out there to help those guys through.
Yeah, I certainly feel fairly unqualified to comment on such a thing. Not really having too much idea about or understanding, as I think that anybody who hasn't served probably doesn't can possibly understand the gravity of the things that are faced by our veterans, definitely. But it's obviously a horrible scenario, one that is all too common. But hopefully it's. Hey, look, I don't even know what to comment any further on that.
That's all right, mate. Yeah, I know that it is sometimes hard for the vets. I still get up a little bit upset every now and then, but hey, it's things like this tonight that make it all worthwhile, and seeing these guys out here doing some of these paints, and we'll definitely try and catch up with them through the race. As you said, SRM and a few of the other boys have got some paints on there.
Yeah, definitely are. So we're back to running 2x2, as we have been fairly well since the start of the race. I'm just keeping an eye on that second pack, and they have actually got themselves sorted out by and large. We've still got one car sort of sitting out there to the top, not sure why, but the rest of them are sort of down there together, and they are just starting to make a little bit of headway. So I'm not sure whether or not the lead pack's actually just sort of slowing down some of that fuel save that we mentioned earlier on, or whether these guys are actually starting to really make some proper headway, just getting themselves organised. But they've taken about a second out of the lead pack from where they were before, so they're gradually pulling that back, and they need to keep going. They need to keep doing that. They need to get themselves formed up, as we've spoken about already, and actually really start to push back towards those guys at the front, because they can do it, especially if the guys in front are saving fuel. We're having a look at some of the lap times that we saw in practice, where they probably would have been running flat out. We're sort of looking in the 48s and so on, and our leader at the moment, his last lap was a 49, so sort of a mid 49. So I'm fairly sure they're not going 100% flat out at the front, which could have something to do with the reason that second pack is able to make some gains on them. But yeah, it's all strategy. It's a bit of a game of chess at this point in time, and we're just going to have to see how it works out for everyone. It's certainly not going to be to the advantage of the second pack having to run flat out, because they're going to have to obviously put more fuel in. But yeah, it's just they're just going to have to recover some way, any way that they can do it. At the moment, getting back to that lead pack is more important.
Yeah, and then you've got that third group of Jake Satterton, Ruben Phelps, Carl Needler, Matty Ray, Justin Allen. They've sorted themselves out, and now they're running in a single line. So we'll keep an eye on them too. But right up back at the front, we still have one of our American drivers leading this race from Kobe Jordan.
Yeah, Jeremy Sumter, he's up there. He's sort of taken one for the team out there at the front at the moment. And it looks as though Ryan Jones, who was fighting so hard for the lead earlier on, he's just slotted in there behind Gary Wellman. And even though he's second in line, he's still giving a fairly good push there. So he won't be saving a great deal of fuel doing that. So, yeah, he's obviously not too worried about it. That's a strategic choice for him to make, I suppose. And, yeah, let's see how it works out for him at the end. These guys, they're not known for wrecking, so I think it's probably going to come down to green flag pit stops at one time or another. So yeah, we'll see how it works out. We'll see if he's able to make this strategy work for him.
Yeah, just a comment there from Mr. Brad Allison. That's out and travelling around our beautiful country. I think it's about 40 to 45 laps, I believe, Ed, for a tank of fuel here at Talladega.
I don't know. I actually don't know. It's been a long time since I've raced here. So, yeah, I couldn't tell you how long they're going to be running. I know at Daytona, we were sort of doing around about 45 laps, I think, in the draft. Talladega's a little bit longer than Daytona. So, yeah, you'd say it's going to be around that area. It's going to be between 40 and 50 laps. You can guarantee that much.
Yeah, I've given up relying on our little spies up and down pit lane, because they always tell us furphy. So We've got rid of them.
Nobody wants to give that away, huh?
No.
Yeah, the funny thing about it is, all the competitors know, so, I don't think anybody's giving away a trade secret by telling you before the race how long the fuel load's going to be, because every single one of those drivers out there knows exactly how long it's going to be. So it's not like it's a little confidential trick.
No. We might jump on board and just see what it's like looking out the front windscreen of these guys being so close as we jump on board with the Natari car of JCW.
And just while we're having a look at that, there is a slight third line forming. I think it's Tristan Koch and Aquijo just going to the outside again, see if they can make some headway. But yeah, certainly sitting here on board with JCW, he probably doesn't get enough credit for it. He's actually a really good pusher, Josh. Really good guy to have behind you in a super speedway like this. He's really good at getting back up on the back of you and giving you a really good shove. So not needing to do too much of that at the moment. He just looks like he's sitting there in line behind Kobe Jordan. Is probably moving around a little bit more than Josh would perhaps like, but yeah, it's one of those things that happens. You get all kinds of air pressure and things like that changing, although it shouldn't be too bad sitting there single file as they are at the front at the moment. But yeah, they're just riding at the minute, turning around about 8,500 RPM. They're in the pack, running nice easy laps, sort of 49.5. They're not absolutely pulling out big tandem drafts and stretching themselves. They're just riding at the moment, and I think Josh will be quite happy with his position.
And just got the speed up there on the bottom of the screen, 308 mid corner. So that's a nice little bit of speed there from JCW.
Yeah, they're still running pretty quick. We actually see them. I wouldn't be surprised to see them running a little bit slower than that later on in the race. But at the moment, it looks as though they're just kind of that's the pace that the leader's running. And while you do want to kind of sit in there and save fuel, you also don't want to save so much that the leader manages to go out there, disappear, and put half a lap on you. Very, very difficult to do here at Talladega, but still something that really the leader will dictate how fast you run. So if he's running flat out, everyone else has got no choice but to at least give themselves enough throttle to keep up.
You can just see Shane Bowen there drop off the back of JCW a little bit.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a gap there. Kind of concertinas a bit. There can be little things sometimes that one guy checks up a little bit, another guy checks up a little bit, and it's just a law of diminishing returns as everybody kind of uses up a fraction of a second of reaction time before they can react to it. So you do get these checkups in the pack. So quite often people don't like to run super, super close, especially if they're not in the position. They're already in the lead pack. They don't need to catch anybody. They only need to run as fast as the leader's running. So they don't need to worry so much about being right up behind everybody. Of course, it is better for saving fuel if you can get right up there, but there's also a lot of these little checkups and things that happen. I'm just having a look back there at Aquijo and Wellman, who are there on the outside line at the moment, and they're kind of by themselves out there, and it looked for a minute as though Aquijo was sort of pulling out, like he was looking to make a kind of lone third lane up there, but he's just getting back there on the back of Wellman at the moment. They're going to try a little bit of a tandem. I'm not sure. This is probably where we'll get a bit of an idea about how hard that front inside line is running, to see whether or not these two guys on the outside are able to get a good draft going and actually push up and make any headway. Because if the only way that you're going to do that with two cars is if the bottom lane isn't really trying. But at the moment, it looks as though it's not working for them. So I think the inside lane's certainly running fast enough.
So we've fallen into a little bit of a lull time now. Should see guys start to come down pit lane if our guesstimates are right in about 15 laps, Ed. So what's going through a driver's mind here at the moment with this pretty stagnant race of sorts?
Yeah, I mean, this is the racing that the next gen car gives us here. it's just the way it is, and yeah, real live NASCAR. They're talking about it a lot. It's a hot topic of conversation at the moment in terms of like the aero and things like that, because this is the type of racing that you get. It's very, very strategic. I think a lot of guys, I think perhaps they've given up that outside line now, just because they're getting within a few laps of, thinking about coming down to the pit lane, and nobody really wants to get caught there on the outside. So they're just going to drop in. You'll notice Ryan Jones, he's dropped all the way to the back of this this lead pack, but he's back there with his teammate Stephen Williams. So they're together. So that's good news for him. But you can see a lot of teammates lined up. We've got the Lucas Oil guys, they're lined up. We've got the Valve guys, they're all lined up. A lot of guys put effort, quite a bit of effort, into staying with their teammates all race long. I always kind of think to myself that it's not necessarily worth doing that early, but at the same time, if you're looking to come down and make green flag pit stops, it's always good to have somebody to pit with, because the last thing that you want to do is come down the lane and come out on your own, because if you're on your own, you're out of the draft, you're lapping slowly, and people are just not going to, they're just going to come blowing by you, and you can fall right off the lead doing that.
Yeah, those Valve cars are separated. Tom Williams sitting up here in 9th spot with the other teammates a little bit further down the field. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can make a move and get up there with Tom. Probably look at the pit stop, I'd say. They'll be talking very, very heavily in the chat room and deciding when they're going to all come down pit lane, because I would imagine that they will come down together, even though they are split up.
Yeah, they're not that badly split up. There's only a few cars between them. It's not going to be anything that's going to stop them from pitting together, that's for sure. So you're going to see them all pit together. I imagine that at the moment, like some of the guys who've been leading lines are going to be trying to save a bit of fuel, just to try and get themselves back on par as much as they can with the guys who have been sitting back there a little bit. You don't want to have to, again, it's the old case of not wanting to have to come down by yourself or with only maybe one or two other cars. That can really hurt you. So, but at the same time, if you've got less fuel than everybody else, you've got no choice, and it really puts the power back in the hands of the guys who've saved, which is why you see guys doing so much saving. It's all advantages and no disadvantages. So that's what sort of makes me a little bit surprised there haven't been more cars taking turns in the lead. I would have thought that a guy would lead for a little while and maybe then sort of drop out of line and drop back or something. But yeah, we've looks like Sumter, Jordan, JCW, all of those guys have been at the front throughout. The only real big change that we've seen is Ryan Jones has gone from the front to the back of this lead pack. Obviously strategically, because he would have been drinking fuel out there, the amount of fuel he was using, the amount of throttle he would have had to been using. So yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to find out what happens, and what's going to happen in this first round of stops, and what you see happen there is probably going to get replicated over and over again, unless we get a caution or something like that to sort of reset everybody. You're going to see, obviously, you pit a lap or two before somebody else, then you've got a lap or two less range, and especially if you come out on your own, you've got no choice but to run absolutely flat out and burn all your fuel up again. So it can just snowball in terms of the negatives for you.
Yeah, and, well, there's definitely going to be no issue with tyres here tonight, because the guys have got 9 sets available to them. So there's plenty, and as you alluded to earlier, Ed, that tyres around these super speedways on this car they don't really hurt that much.
Oh, well, no, the tyres don't wear at all. Yeah, the next gen car's got fairly hard tyres on it anyway. You don't get a huge amount of tyre drop off anywhere. And you certainly don't get a lot of tyre drop off here. Like, you could pretty much run... You could run the entire race here without any danger of a tyre failure. It might make it a little bit harder to get on and off pit road with an older, hotter set of tyres on the car, but you're certainly not going to run the risk of a tyre failure by wearing them out. It's just not going to happen. It wouldn't happen if you ran 1,000 laps here. There's just not enough wear going through them.
A little bit unlike some of the short tracks that we go to.
Well, I mean, like I said, the next gen car doesn't really wear tyres anywhere. It hasn't got the massive tyre drop off that we used to see back in the Gen 6 or COT, or even back as far as the Gen 4, or any other time in NASCAR history, actually, where tyre wear has been a real strategic factor of a race. The next-gen car, I can sort of understand why Goodyear played conservative with it. Being in the first couple of years of the car, they didn't change they gave it a nice safe compound because, of course, they're running a totally different tyre. It's a totally different car. The loads are totally different. And they didn't want tyres popping everywhere. But then we saw back in the real-life Bristol race, didn't we, where the tyres were, the track just wasn't taking rubber and the tyres were only lasting around about 40 laps. And that's now something that Goodyear have taken a look at, and they're sort of looking out, I think, for the All-Star race. They're going to be running 2 tyre compounds there, a prime and an option, which is a bit of a first as well. So they're certainly experimenting, but as far as the tyre we've got here on iRacing, the one that is running in real life and the one that races here on super speedways, tyre wear is just not a factor whatsoever.
I'm just seeing these two pop out of that low line and trying to get another run, but they've decided against it and dropped back down on the low line. So everyone's behaving themselves on just nice and easy on that low line at the moment.
Yeah, they're not stupid. They're just playing it safe. There's no reason to be... when there's no reason to lead, you're not going to see guys going out there and trying to lead. Like, there's no benefit to doing that at this early stage. Unless, a guy might be sitting there going, hey, I just want to practice. And guys do that. Kyle Busch does it. And has done it in the past. He's talked about it where he might be running with the lead pack and then he'll drop to the rear and then see how quickly he can make his way back up there. We've got some pit stops happening though. Looks like Sumpter and looks like Kobe Jordan, potentially the only two coming down. Looks like they're both onto the lane quite well. Just having a look back to see if anybody else has jumped in. Yeah, we've got a few. That whole second pack. Taddington, Phelps, Raymond, Justin Allen, Carl Nedler, Derek Jacobs, Brett Campbell and Adam Tice all on pit road. And that's no surprise to see him going because it was that entire second pack that was having to run really, really hard, wasn't it? They weren't able to save any fuel. And so no surprise to see him coming in on the same lap as guys who've been leading the whole time.
Yeah, spot on there. Kobe's done. So some of these guys looks like are just taking fuel, but some have just taken left tyres too. So it'd be interesting to see what comes of that.
Okay, we've got a few more takers. So we've got Ryan Jones, Stephen Williams, the 2 DPR cars. Oh, I tell you what, poor Ryan Jones would be very lucky not to have a penalty. In fact, I think he got away with it. Adam Tice has got himself a penalty. But yeah, just having a look through there, we've got Ryan Jones, Wayne Van Billion, Matty Beale, Luke Yeager, Stephen Williams on pit road at the moment. I think Jones got away with that. He locked up his tyres and went straight across the pit entry and sort of went in between a couple of other cars, but I'm not seeing a black flag next to his name. And we'll just check to see if nothing appears. Hopefully not. It looks like he's got off a pit road okay. And yeah, he's alright, but I tell you what, that would have been damn close. That would have been seriously close.
So another big group of cars, 5, 6, 7 cars back down pit lane now.
JCW, the leader, he's coming down. It's Shane Bowen, Quijo, and this is just about all the rest of them, I think. Just about everybody who hadn't made their way in yet has now made their way in. So we'll just keep an eye on the rest of them. Make sure that everybody manages to get in and away cleanly. They don't pick up any penalties or anything like that. Adam Tice, the only one who I can see running afoul of the officials so far. And he's come back in the lane and he's actually serving that penalty as we speak. So just keep an eye on these guys coming off of pit road. Aquijo's actually made up quite a few spots there. I reckon he had a really good stop. JCW's had a pretty good stop. We're going to see where they feed back out because this is key to see where they feed back out. There's a few guys coming along who are already on track.
So just a quick one, Ed. The Pluckers Racecraft cars are in, and all Valve Esports cars are in.
Right, okay, so that was the last group left to pit then. So I'm just taking a look at the rejoin from the guys who've just come out of the pits, and of course the leaders who pit with such a large group, like most of the leaders came in there all together, and that just gives you so much power because even if you don't get on and off pit road particularly well, so long as you exit as a group, you've still got that speed there and you can recover from anything that goes wrong. It looks as though they've done fairly well there. They've gotten off a pit road. There's definitely a lead pack there forming. I'll be interested to see where the Valve guys come out. There's one straggler there, and it looks as though they're going to pretty much merge back in. I think the lead pack might clear them, and they might filter back in around about where the DPR cars are, which is a little bit back. Although they're getting up to speed, but it's a little bit. The leader's not really wanting to give them too much space there, but they've got it filtered out sort of in between where the DPR cars were and that lead pack. So they're just going to slot in the middle of that. I'm just taking a look at some of these stragglers here. They're going to want to get formed up pretty quickly. Otherwise, they're in danger of losing that pack. That lead pack is organised, it's single file, and they're really moving. So everybody else has really got to get themselves sorted out, because otherwise this group's just going to pull away.
Yeah, just got the cameras on the Lucas Oil's car and 3 of the Valve cars. I'm just wondering, I'm just thinking to myself, if that was me there, I'd be dropping back in as I say that. They just do exactly what I was
just
thinking.
took a bit of time to get themselves sorted out, that's all. So they're sorted out now, and I think the 2 DPR guys, I think Williams and Jones are going to be close enough to pull up onto the back of that. They're pushing really, really well. If you have a look at Stephen Williams, he is right on the bumper of Ryan Jones, giving him a fantastic push, and I reckon those guys are going to push right up onto the back of the Valve cars. At the moment, the speed difference is about 3 k's an hour faster they're doing. And then we look back to that little pack just behind, which is being led by Norman Clark at the moment, and they're about 10 k's an hour slower than what the 2 DPR cars in front are doing. So they need to get themselves sorted out, or they're going to drop. They're not close enough, they're not pushing hard enough, and they're just not going to catch up doing that. But luckily, they've got a fairly big group coming behind them, which is going to help them along when they catch up. And that's the majority of the SRM cars. That group's being led by Jake Saddington at the moment, and they're running a pretty good pace. So they're going to be able to pull back up, join up to the 3 in front of them, and it's almost like a snowball. They've got the big ball coming behind, the big pack coming behind, and they just pick cars up as they go. And every time they do, it makes the pack a little bit bigger and a little bit faster. So if they can get themselves sorted out and go together, then they can potentially catch up to that lead pack. But that lead pack is looking really, really well organised at the moment, and it's going to be hard to catch them up. Unless they decide to voluntarily slow down, because everyone else has got, they're kind of in packs that are around about as big, but you need to be going faster than them to catch them. That's just simple fact of life. So, in order for anybody to catch that lead pack, it's going to take some doing, because they are really moving.
Yeah, Norman just pulls out there to get the run with the SRM boys up high, and he nearly takes the nose off Jake Saddington there. And Jake Saddington is last year's ANZAC Cup winner, so he's sitting back there in 17th, but he'll definitely be looking to try and have a repeat win here at Talladega this year.
Yeah, but they need to get themselves sorted out, and they are doing it. That top line is obviously deliberately dropping back in order to slot in behind. But when you look at the way in which Williams is pushing Jones there, have a look at it. Look how close he's just given Jones a bad knock, actually. I tell you what, I'm commentators cursing the crap out of everything tonight. Everything I say is like the opposite is happening, but definitely for a moment there, for a little while there, Williams was, in terms of that rear pack, he was the only one who was pushing as hard as he needs to be pushing. He was right on the back of Jones, did end up making a small mistake there, but they've recovered. But that's how hard they all need to be, as close as that. They all need to be lined up that way. And at the moment, they're just not. There's big gaps between all the cars, and they're not going to catch back up to the front that way. They're lucky to have held it to only sort of 7-8 seconds, but they dropped a second on that last lap with all that sort of confusion after that bad bump. So they really need to get formed up, and they need to push each other. Physically push one another. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. So we've got that lead pack running really hard, real fast at the moment. I just wonder if they're going to continue running that fast, because I don't think the JCW is going to want to continue leading and continue going flat out. In fact, I'm fairly sure he's backed off a little bit. He's only running 309 k's an hour now, whereas before we saw them running sort of 313 to 16, that kind of area, and he's definitely running slower than that now. So he's taken his foot off the gas a little bit. It's obviously a fuel saving thing. He's got Equijo right up there behind and giving a big old push, but this could help out the guys behind, not least of which being that group of Valve cars, Valve and Lucas Oil cars in behind, who are going to be looking to move back up, and they're still running full pace. They're still running about 7-8 k's an hour faster. So they're going to join that lead pack pretty soon, and I think that JCW is not going to want to lead this entire stint. Otherwise, he's going to find himself in a bit of bother. So it's really hard for a group to maintain its momentum if you're swapping leaders around all the time, but that's the hope that everybody else has got. That the lead pack is going to start slowing itself down because no one's going to want to lead. So that could potentially bring everybody else back into play. Taking a look back at that third pack now. Ryan Jones still leading it, but there's a strong push coming to the outside. They're running 2x2. And they're only running 304, 303, 302 at the moment while they're running double wide. And when you look at the front pack, which is still running 308, and then you've got that second pack, which are running 312, that third pack is going to be like dropping off. They're still dropping off. It's out to 9 seconds now. So, yeah, I know I keep saying it, and it's probably getting quite painful to keep saying it, but they need to get themselves organised if they're going to get back in this.
Well, we've got Matty Ray there now leading that group. Ruben Phelps, he'll definitely get right up under the bumper of his team boss, and Jake Saddington there, and then the two DPR cars. So they'll definitely get a wiggle on now that these guys have joined in line. It's just a matter of whether anyone behind the two DPR cars, like Luke Jager and Wayne Van Billion, decide to pull out. But they are teammates. Without being teammates, so we'll see. Unusual to see Norman down there so low at the moment.
I don't know. He's kind of notorious for letting everyone pass at the start of the race and then kind of appearing again at the end. So I don't know if it's that unusual. But just looking even behind them, there are a few little stragglers that obviously didn't get off on and off pit road very well. We've got a sort of like 3-car pack there, which is Jared Williams, Tom Neal, Adam Ariel. They're just running there as a trio at the moment. Good news is for them, they are running as fast as the leaders doing that. They're sort of sitting, in fact, they're sort of pushing all the way up to about 316, 17k an hour on the straight. So they're pushing as hard as they can. So they'll be able to start making headway because that's pretty much the fastest speed anyone's running in the pack. You've got Brett Campbell. He's out there with Derek Jacobs, Matty Beale, Justin Allen, and Carl Nedler. They are there, and they're running in a group of 5. They're not running real quick. They're barely sort of breaking over 300k an hour at the moment. So I'm not sure why they're running that slow. I can't see any damage on the cars or anything like that. They're not formed up particularly well. But they've really got to get a move on. And as I say that, they've just sort of hooked in behind each other. They're moving up to around about 308 k's an hour or something like that. But that's when you look at how quickly that group of 3 is running. It really shows what is possible to be done. You know, the Williams, Neal, Ariel group. When you see how fast they're running, there's no excuse for the other guys not to be running that quick if they want to catch up to the pack as well. But the front pack, they can pace themselves. But everyone else has got to get on with it, and they've got to catch back up. And we're seeing that happen at the moment with that Valve and Plucker group of 5 cars in there behind. They've really closed that gap back up. They've done a really good job. And they're back up there within 2 seconds now. They're going to be just starting to catch that draft off the lead pack, and we're going to see them join the run for the lead very, very soon.
And you see here how hard Jamie Nankervis is pushing Scott down the back straight. He'll come back down through the tri-oval.
And yeah, it can't be easy. You like it. It's not. There are a few guys there, and I speak specifically of the Valve team, and I know that they're not the only ones out there in this boat, but they've got quite a few guys on their team who are just sort of starting out in ovals. And yeah, a lot of the time they come out to super speedways, and yeah, on paper it's very easy. You just kind of hold it flat and turn left, and you do. Like it's there is that element to it. But for someone like Scott, who's fairly new to ovals, I think by his own admission, having to sit there and there's a lot of stuff to do when you're in the front line there. You can't it's not just sitting there flat out turning the wheel every time you get to a corner. There's other things as well, like helping, like you get a bubble of air that kind of builds up between the nose of the car behind and the rear bumper of the car in front. And if you kind of just drag the brakes a little bit, you can help the car behind to break that bubble, get right up there on your bumper, and then you get what you call a tandem draft, and that kind of really just takes the drag off both of those cars, and they just fire forward. And so there's a lot for him to do. So he's actually done quite well there to lead that pack back up to the front, and now they have conjoined, I guess, and we're looking at one big lead pack now.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we just seen there from the speeder on screen that Scott actually made 120 kilometres an hour. So that was a great push by Jamie to really help close that gap.
You probably mean 320, yeah?
Sorry, 320. It's been a long day.
Just over pit speed, man. So, yeah, but yeah, definitely they've done a really good job there to get back up there, and yeah, also good job from Jamie as well, because probably the guy running in second place at any pack has got the biggest say over its speed. In terms of what he's able to do, so to push back up there, and those guys stuck in the line really well, and that's the reward. They managed to catch back up and get in touch with the lead pack. They would have burned a bit of fuel doing it, so they're going to be a little bit of a fuel disadvantage to the guys that have been up in that lead pack the entire time, but at least they're there, and now they're there, they can get off the throttle a little bit and try and save the fuel. I hate to keep mentioning it, fuel saving is boring, but that's what they're doing. And that's the only way to succeed in these cars around here. So there's going to be a lot of talk about fuel saving. It's not the most exciting topic in the world, but yeah, that's what they're having to do at the moment.
Yeah, just start looking at Shane Bowen. We see him over in Ann's car a fair bit. This is, I believe this is his actually first race with the Aussie Outlaws. And to be sitting third at the moment, I know it's still a long way to go. It's a great result from him, and we've really seen him come on leaps and bounds over at Ann's with the ANZAC League at the moment, Ed.
Yeah, he's been running all over the place, I think. He's been doing a really good job. He's probably, if I had to name a breakout driver of the year at this early stage, he'd probably be it. Up the front, leading laps, has come really, really close to a couple of wins as well, and has just kind of missed out right there at the end, but come in with a really good attitude, him and his teammate, Ben Henniker, who you see quite a lot as well. Those guys have been running together really well. Shane's been doing an excellent job. He's kind of slotted quite seamlessly into that lead group, whereas all the lead guys are kind of... It's a bit of a funny thing with stock car racing, where you are racing packs and those kind of things, because when you get somebody new pop in there, like, everybody's kind of used to racing around the same guys, and then a new guy kind of puts himself in there, and nobody's really sure how to race with him. Nobody will draft with him. Nobody will kind of cut him any breaks or anything like that, because nobody really understands him. But Shane has slotted into that lead pack so well, and he's gained the trust of the guys around him, and that's another reason why you see him getting these solid results, because the people that are running up there with him know that they can trust him, and they know that he's not going to do anything stupid. Although we all do stupid things from time to time. But generally speaking, he doesn't make any silly mistakes or anything like that, and gives people space. And once you gain the trust of the guys in the lead pack, your results just automatically improve, because you just become part of that lead pack, an accepted part of that lead pack. And he's integrated himself really, really well, in much the same way as Gary Wellman did, either last year or the year before. He was that guy who... it was always kind of there or thereabouts. He'd been around a little bit longer than Shane by that stage, but he was always kind of there or thereabouts. And then he's kind of made that step forward and really just got to the stage where all the lead guys trust him. And now he's able to run with the lead pack quite consistently as well. So it's something that is quite often overlooked by people who are new to the oval racing scene. But gaining that trust with the guys who run at the pack week in, week out, run at the front of the pack week in, week out, is one of the most important things that you need to do for your own success, because if you don't have their trust, they're not going to work with you, they're not going to cut you any breaks, and if you don't have somebody working with you and cutting your brakes, and I don't even just mean super speedways in terms of drafting and things like that, but even on the littler tracks, you still need people to cut your brakes and to run with you and trust you and run you clean, all the rest of that. So it's one of the biggest steps forward that you can make in stock car racing, is gaining the trust of those guys, and Shane's done that really, really well.
Yeah, just looking at just watching Urquio and JCW, Lachlan's just not getting square on that bumper, and he's not really unsettling JCW, he's unsettling himself, and just seeing a real big tail wag through there, through 3 and 4. Let's just hope he can keep it, and he doesn't have a momentary lapse of concentration, because it would be very hard there once you get that wag up.
Yeah, I'm surprised that there's that much issue going on, because they're not actually running that quick. It could be a case of JCW's running part throttle, trying to save fuel, and Lockie, rather than going around him, is giving him big punts in the rear bumper saying, "Come on, mate, hurry up." Because he wants to obviously run at a little bit of a different pace JCW is wanting to run at the moment, but they're not running that fast. So for there to be like issues sort of bump drafting at the front, that it doesn't make a lot of sense if not for that. So I can only assume that's what's going on. Just having a look a little bit further back, the second pack being led by Matty Raymond at the moment, they're running a nice single file. They're sort of sitting there around about 10 seconds off the lead pack at the moment, and they're not running particularly quickly either. They're only kind of running about 308, 309, 310. I'll see what they get up to on the straight, but they don't seem to be catching that lead pack at the moment, which is a little bit strange. But they're kind of running about the same speed. They're getting up to, they're pulling out to about 314, 315 on the straight, so that's a good effort. They'll start to pull that gap down if they can keep running that speed, but it's so easy to lose momentum as well when everyone's sort of sitting in a line. I guess they've got a bit of a advantage just given the fact they've got 3 teammates leading that pack, which means that they're in more regular communication than they would be otherwise, and it just allows them to see one of them 15 just poke out a line there. I think that was Saddington, and that's all it takes to break that momentum. So you can get a really, really good run going. Everybody's sat in there together. You've got this big freight train pulling itself along. They took a 10th out of the leaders that time round. But all it takes is for one car to have a little bit of a wobble and jump out of line, and the whole pack, you just goes, ugh, and you just lose all the pace. So they really need to keep that momentum going. They will get there. They've got a really good push this time around. They got up to 323 k's an hour at the end of the back straight. So now they're getting themselves sorted and they're moving on. And we're going to start to see that, hopefully, we're going to see that gap to the leader start to come down. They'd have to, because they're running really quick now. They just need to keep that going. Nobody sneeze, nobody cough, nobody break that momentum. You need to keep that momentum, and they'll get there. We'll see what the time gap is this time over the line, and it's come down to 8.6, so they're definitely catching him. They've just got to keep doing what they're doing, and we'll be, by and large, most of the field will be all back together again.
Just watching Jake Saddington's car there, the 15, he really doesn't seem comfortable with Stevie Dubb giving him those real big pushes. He gets a good push from Stevie Dubb, but he just seems to get the wanders up high. Just not quite 100% comfortable there by the looks of it, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, look, it makes sense. Jake's a great driver. I've seen him drive so many different things over time, and he's very, very good. But over racing is not the thing that he does all the time. He's a road racer, and Williams has given him some really good shoves there. But he's got to realise, I think, that the 15's not taking those pushes particularly well. He's kind of like, you saw that big one that he got just before. He's kind of pushed Saddington right up onto the back of those 2 SRM cars, and you can understand why he's doing it, but you can only push him so far before he's going to run into the back of the car in front as well. And if he is, not necessarily taking those pushes quite well, you don't want to cause a wreck either. So you've got to remember, you've got to take a look at when you give a guy in front a push, you've got to just understand a little bit about how comfortable they seem to be with that push. It can be setup related as well. Like sometimes certain cars that are set up certain ways just can't work together. I found that a couple of times during the Daytona 500. There were certain cars that were quick that I just couldn't work with for whatever reason. And sometimes your stability in the line can be setup related as well. Like I've driven cars on, like the next gen car, had a setup one particular year where when you got into the pack, it was almost like you had a person pushing on each of the front fenders. The nose was just moving left and right and left and right, and it was actually really hard to hold the thing straight. So it could even be that there's a nervous setup in that 15 as well. So and that's another thing that he's not going to be able to change. So you can give him all the hard pushes in the world you want, but if you wreck him, that's gonna cause bigger issues, potentially get involved in it yourself. So yeah, it's a balancing act. It's got to be judgment, and Williams has been around for a long, long time. He knows all this stuff. So yeah, but just gotta. He's just trying to keep that line moving. That's all he's doing. Is just trying to keep that line moving. They've taken another second out of the lead as well. We've been talking about all of that. So yeah, they're coming. They just got to keep doing what they're doing. They'll be okay.
Jump back up front and see how JCW is going, and we haven't had a change up here. Everyone's been behaving themselves and just sticking in the line, although the Lucas Oil's car has just dropped off ever so slightly off the back of those two valve cars.
Yeah, I'm a little bit sort of surprised about that, but I'm more surprised that JCW hasn't rotated that lead a little bit. I'm surprised he's been as happy to just sit there out the front, especially seeing as he was just riding so much in that first stint. I'm sort of surprised that he's staying out there, especially just given the fact that he hasn't got any teammates out there tonight either. So if he pits, if he burns up his fuel and he pits, he is 100% going to be doing it alone, because he hasn't got anyone else to dive in with him. So bit of a risk for him to be running all the time at the front like this, but it's obviously how he's decided to do it, and Lockie's still giving him those big old pushes. So yeah, I guess we're going to be coming fairly close to the next round of pit stops as well. So yeah, we're just going to have to see how that turns out. Hopefully he doesn't have to pit by himself.
Yeah, well, I'm just looking at the timing screen. Sumter and Jordan have done 31 laps on this stint, where JCW and Urquio, Schultz and Wellman are all done 29. So 2 laps difference there. So we'll have to see if Jordan and his teammate comes down the lane earlier, or they've been able to save a little bit of fuel sitting in that line and pit with these front 2 cars.
Yeah, they would have to have saved a little bit, because JCW isn't running flat out at the front. We've already talked about that. So just the fact that he's not running flat out, it means that most of the guys sort of back in that line are probably going to be able to sit there on around about half throttle. So those guys are going to be saving massive amounts of fuel. But I guess JCW, and to a certain extent Urquijo as well, are going to be thinking about trying to at least get their fuel numbers on terms with the guys that are chasing them down, so they're not having to pit completely alone, because we know that second pack is going to be burning a lot more fuel, running really, really hard. And they're down to 5.8 seconds behind now. They're on the same straight with the leaders. So this is going to join up into 1 gigapack pretty soon. It's going to be a 21 car draft. The only cars we're going to be missing sort of from Adam Ariel down. So, we're talking about Ariel, Williams, Neal, Campbell, that kind of group. And Adam Tice, unfortunately, has dropped 2 laps off the pace just with that penalty. So, good news for him is if there is a caution, he's going to get the lucky dog, but he needs a couple to get back on the lead lap and back into contention. But we'll probably just keep our focus on the second pack converging with the first pack, because I think by the time that we go for pit stops, they're probably all going to be together. little bit of radio chatter going on amongst the pack towards the back of the field. Campbell, Jacobs, those guys are having a bit of a chat. I didn't quite make out what they were saying, but they're probably getting themselves organised for pit stops. They've got to be coming up soon, especially given the amount of throttle those guys will have been using. Despite the fact that they've been running slower, they're going to be using a lot of throttle and a lot of fuel. So they've got to be getting close to a pit stop relatively soon. So, yeah, it's a bit of a shame for those guys that haven't been able to make more headway, but that's where they are. And they'll be waiting on a caution, I think, to try and bring them back in. Hopefully they don't lose a lap before that happens. Just taking a look at the gap between the first pack and the second pack. Just as the second pack crosses the line, we'll get an update in just a second. It's down to 4.8 seconds. And the lead pack as well is starting to break up a little bit. I don't mean break up in terms of cars falling away, but we've got two cars pushing to the outside, so that's going to slow that group down a little bit more and speed up that convergence between those packs. We've got two guys popping to the outside. I believe that is Wellman, and I believe that's Aiden Schultz there on the outside as well. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Pretty keen to get up there by themselves. No one else going with them.
Yeah, I don't think too many people are going to be moving to that outside because, as we've mentioned, we're getting close to pit stops again. So I'm not sure why they jumped out at that point of all points. I think if you wanted to make moves to the lead, then potentially the time would have been a little bit earlier than that. But they know how much fuel they've got left. I can't tell from up here. So looks as though there's a little bit of a gap. And I think Schultz was trying to jump down into that, but it closed up too quickly for him. So this has broken up that front pack a little bit. And yeah, that second pack is going to be coming. And when they get here, they're going to get here with an absolute head of steam. So I wonder if they're going to make a big run to the outside, or are they going to just stay in line and wait for the pit stops because they don't want to get caught on that outside line. And we've almost seen that lead pack divide into two now. That little bit of a thing with Schultz and Wellman trying to get back in there has kind of broken them up. It's not going to... They're not going to lose the draft. They're nowhere near far enough back for that. But it's just slowed them down a little bit and just brought that rear pack in just that little bit closer.
Just riding on board here with Matty Ray, the leader of that second group, and you can definitely see that gap is just ever so slightly closing lap by lap. That would definitely make you want to put your foot through the floor a little bit more.
Oh, I reckon he's had his foot absolutely through the firewall the entire time. Honestly, if they had no choice. It burns fuel, but he has no choice. He's got to get back to the lead pack if he's going to have any chance of winning this race. So he would have been flat out the entire time. He's getting really good pushes there from his teammates. They're moving, so they're catching. I think they slowed up just a bit. I'm not sure if that's entirely intentional, but they're not taking the huge chunks out of the lead pack that they were. But that gap is still coming down, and they are coming. So they're going to get there quite quickly.
Well, I mean to say, Matty Ray's already won at a super speedway this year. He won the Daytona 500, the first race of the season. So he'd be pretty happy, and he did basically the same thing, Ed. Started at rear and worked his way through.
Yeah, but it's been a hard slog for him, hasn't it? It would have been a lot easier for him to start near the front and stay there. If you look at, say, like a Quijo and Carol Walden and Bowen and Sumter and all those guys who started up there near the front, you know, they've just kind of cruised along all race, right? They haven't had to put on this massive recovery drive or anything like that. So, you know, you can still make it a bit hard for yourself by starting a little bit further down. I think that, you know, now Matty Ray's going to be pitting in this lap. He's made the call. So he's just about got him there, but he's burned all his fuel doing it. So he's going to be hoping he probably will have his teammates come with him. That's his, I guess, his saving grace. But I think all things considered, he would have rather stay at the front. Would have been easier for him. Let's have a look at how this pit stop goes. All the SRM guys pulling off, as you'd expect. Matty Ray coming in real hot. Did he get it pulled up?
Ooh.
No, he hasn't. No, Matty Raymond with a penalty. He broke way too late there. Carl Nedler as well has been ping speeding. So both of those guys, that's a big blow for them. Matty Raymond, Carl Nedler have both got pit road speeding penalties. Actually, I'm just watching Nedler at the moment. He's got a black flag up next to his name for some other reason. Okay, I must say I don't fully understand that, but he's got a black flag up next to his name. He's coming down the lane right now, but Matty Raymond's definitely sitting there serving a penalty. So that, unfortunately, it's really, really bad news for him because he's probably going to drop a lap now. But it's also really, really bad news for the rest of the SRM guys as well, who've lost a third of their firepower in that little group. Aquijo wasn't running with them. Speaking of Aquijo, he is coming down the lane right now with the rest of that lead pack. They've all pitted with JCW. So it looks like those guys sticking together. Bowen in as well, Sumpter in as well. Makes a really good pit entrance actually there into his box, Sumpter. He might gain a couple of spots with that. But yeah, they're all in. They're taking 4 tyres as well. They may as well. They're taking a full tank. Matty Raymond only just exiting the pits now. So he's going to end up dropping a lap. Aquijo, Sumpter, they both got away really, really well. And they have leapfrogged JCW in the pit lane. I don't think JCW is going to be too bothered about that. Sumpter and Aquijo just sorting themselves out. They have done now. We'll see where everybody else feeds out and how this all goes once everyone's made their stops.
Right at the moment, we've got the 2 Valve cars up, 1 and 2. Scott Lefborough and Jamie Nankervis, and Aidan Schultz sitting in third.
Yeah, and they're going to be making a move for the lane fairly soon. I'm actually surprised, given how hard those Valve cars had to push, that they have managed to hang out there for this extra lap. But they're going to have to be coming down real soon. Just about everybody is putting out the alerts now saying that they are going to be pitting in. Valve cars, are they coming down? No, looks like they're going around again. So they saved a ton of fuel while catching the leaders up, so that's interesting. But the 2 DPR guys in, Ryan Jones locks it up again. He's managed to get it down to pit road speed though, so whatever he's doing, it looks scary. But he's got it sorted out because he's getting it down to pit road limit every single time. And he's real quick on the entry there, but it always looks like he's going to speed, but he's got it under the limit, so that's all that matters. Doesn't need those tyres anymore, and it's not like tyre wear is a big factor anyway. So he's there on pit road. Steve Williams, Luke Yeager, they're all there on pit road. So we'll see if they're able to get out a little bit better than they did last time. Remember, they were in the lead pack, and then when they pitted, they came back out, and they'd sort of lost that, and they're back in that second pack. So hopefully for them, they're going to be able to make up a little bit of time on pit road. I'm just keeping a bit of an eye on the Valve cars right now and that group with SRM to see what kind of headway they're able to make.
I'm just looking at Aidan Schultz. He's had to come in and pit by himself, so that's definitely not going to help him.
Hopefully, though, it's only 1 lap for him. It might not be too bad, considering that a lot of the cars that he's going to be racing will have taken a lap or so to kind of get themselves sorted out and build that momentum back. So hopefully that doesn't hurt him too much.
Now, these Valve cars have been stuck on the outside of these 2 SRM cars. They've got to be getting close to fuel.
They have to be. I can't believe they've kept going this long, given how hard they had to push to catch that lead back up.
2 Lucas Oil's cars in, 1 Valve car in. That's Scotty. Oh, yeah, definitely not got that pulled up.
Yep, Aidan Schultz and Scott Lefebvre pit road speeding. So we're seeing there's more black flags going on than a protest rally out there at the moment. It's yeah, there's quite a few guys messing up that pit entry, and it's so easy to do because not only are you coming off, you're coming off the track at varying speeds, right? So sometimes you're running 315k an hour, sometimes you're running 308. The braking points differ completely, and also you've got really cold brakes. Don't forget, because you're not using them at all. And so the first time that you step on them, they don't really respond and they want to snatch and everything else. And that's why some of the more experienced guys, just that lap before they come in, as the Valve cars do make a move in now, more experienced guys might just drag their brakes a little bit on the lap or two leading up to the pit stop, just to get that little bit of heat into them, so they actually work when they step on it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you can check if Williams there got a pit speed, because he seemed like he was locked up coming across that control line.
No, he looks okay. The only one that's showing at the moment as having a black flag to serve is Scott Lefebvre, who's just serving that one at the moment. He may actually be waiting to come out with his teammates so he can still help them along despite being a lap down. I'm just keeping a watch on it. In fact, that looks exactly what he's done because he's jumped back out behind Nankervis and the other
Williams.
one. Williams. There's too many Williamses in the race, man. There's like 3 and none of them are related or on the same team.
And we just see there, that lead group just go past Nankervis and those valve cars. So Lockie out in front, and they are well up in the speed. So the valve cars are going to have the hard work to do again to catch these guys.
Yeah, they've got the recovery drive again. So they're going to have to do. And this time they've got a little bit less to make up. They've got a bit of practice doing it. They were running with the plucker cars before anyway. So hopefully those guys will just form up again and it'll just be unspoken. They'll just get together and do what they need to do to get back up there. I'm just having a look at the lead of the race now. It's Equijo is going to be taking over the lead as they cross the line here, and the timing's going to update as they come across the line. Yeah, Equijo to the lead ahead of JCW. Sumter still sitting in there. Looks like he's sitting there in third, but I think there might be a lapped car or two. Yeah, Brett Campbell and Matthew Raymond are lapped cars, but they're sitting there in that lead pack as well, helping them along. So they're just catching up to Schultz. They're going to go around him, so they're going to pick him up as well. So you've got this lead pack with a bunch of lappers in there as well. So they're going to assist the speed, but it's going to make it a little bit more confusing for all the rest of us.
And there we see Sumter and Jacobs getting together there. So 2 Americans are running nose to tail, but unfortunately for Derek, he's lapped down.
Yeah, and that pit stop cycle has not worked out at all well for DPR. They are sitting 46 seconds off the lead at the moment, and they're sat down there. They're working with the 08 car. 08 car still out there?
Yeah. Now 38.
It's the 38 car, my apologies. Working out there with, Tom Neal. But yeah, they're miles off the lead. I'm not sure what happened to cost themselves that much time, but they've well fallen off the pack.
Yeah. Well, the 38 car, Tom Neal, the car 38, sitting in 19th place, and he is the last car on the lead lap. Matty Raymond, as we've seen, he's sitting up there in 3rd place on the track, but he's actually down in 20th.
Yeah, and the lead pack is just about to come around these guys as well, so I'm not sure what happened to, because we were watching their stops, didn't we, and it looked okay. So I'm not sure if it can't have been a penalty, because they would have dropped a lap already if that was the case. So I'm not really sure what's done them in so badly. But they're way off, and they're about to go a lap down. So one thing that Matty Raymond's going to want to make sure of is that he keeps in there with that lead line as it rounds these guys up around the outside, if indeed that's what they do, because he's going to want to remain the first car 1 lap down and keep that lucky dog.
Well, the other 2 cars that he's actually battling for position is Derek Jacobs in 21st, and we see him there in the blue 27 car, and then Aidan Schultz is actually also in this battle group for the lucky dog. He's also up there in that group.
Yeah, and the lead pack getting a bit squirrely there. I've just kind of cut back to them just while I was watching the guys who were about to drop a lap, and they were all a little bit all over the place for a while, but they seem to have got back all in line. And as we mentioned, we see Matty Raymond and Campbell in there as well. They're going to want to stick with these leaders because they want to make sure that they remain in those, like Matty Raymond in particular, wants to stay in that lucky dog spot.
Yeah, just looking.
Might actually see a bit of a fight between the DPR guys and them for it.
You just start looking back at that second group now with the Valve Esports cars. and Lucas Oil's cars and Gary Willman. They've now teamed up, and they're in that single lane and all working well together.
Yeah, hopefully they're able to pull back up. I mean, the Valve cars are going to be tired of doing fight backs. They really need to get themselves sorted out so they don't need to do this every single time, because it's not going to be a great thing for them come the end of the race if they're continually having to use all their stuff up, fighting back and trying to catch up. They need to get with the lead pack, they need to pit with them, and they need to come off pit road with them. They're not going to be able to win the race if they don't. So hopefully this pit cycle, they're not as far back this time. They've only got a little bit of time to make up. Hopefully they can get back on with the leaders, and you know, I'm able to stick with them for the rest of the race. I'm just taking a bit of a look because we've got a bit of a third pack there as well. Shane Bowen, he sort of dropped out of the lead pack a little bit. That pit stop cycle not being kind to him. Luke Yeager, Wayne Van Billion, and Norman Clark in that foursome just there. And they've actually got another Valve car, Jared Williams, who is a couple of laps down, actually, 1 lap down. Looks like he's just fallen off the back of that. I thought they might have been waiting for him, but it doesn't look so. And this little pack of 4 here, again, they need to go and to try and catch up with those guys in front of them. They're only 6 seconds off the lead. They're 3 seconds off the pack in front. But if they can bridge that gap, and they've got to keep going because we know that historically the lead pack isn't running flat out. If they can just keep going, they should be able to get there. It's going to take them a little bit of time, but they should be able to get there if they work well together. And we're just seeing the pack that includes Williams and Jones. Koch has just jumped out of line there. It looked as though they were going high, as if the leaders weren't quite with them yet, so I don't think it was for that reason. But I think potentially those DPR cars, as well as they've been pushing together tonight, they want to be leading that pack, because look at the pace by which they've actually managed to drop Neil behind. They've just managed to clear out completely, and that is the power of a tandem draft when you do it well. They're doing everything they can to avoid going that lap down. And again, if the lead pack is not really pushing super hard, they can do it as a duo. They can stay. It's going to burn up a lot of fuel to do it, but they can save their lap here if they work really well. And if the lead pack isn't particularly fast about getting to them, they can do this. Believe in them. They can do it. That duo together.
Well, we can see there how close Neil is to the rear of Williams' car. So definitely
Jones,
pushing
that is.
Sorry, Jones.
But they're running around about the same speed as the lead pack at the moment. So they're going to be burning more fuel doing it. But at the very least, if a caution comes out, they just got to stay away from the lead pack as much as they can. Because if a caution comes out, that saves their bacon. And you've got to give that caution as much opportunity as possible to come out. So they've got to just try to stay out in front. Now, I'm just having a little bit of a look at JCW's car there. I reckon he's got a bit of front-end damage on that thing. He does.
Yep.
I wonder if there was a little bit of a bump gone wrong there, because I don't think he had that coming off a pit road. Just going to have a look at the back of Koijo's car to see if there's any corresponding damage there. I can't see any, but I can only assume that's the only place that I can imagine it would have happened, because I don't think there was any damage on that car coming off pit road. So, yeah, maybe a little bit of a hard bump.
You can see them joined together there, and that there definitely looks like it's a bump on that rear bumper, Ed, because that fitted in there nicely there.
And that lead pack is pushing quite hard. They seem pretty keen to put those DPR cars a lap down. They're running a lot faster than they were before. They're running about 7 or 8k an hour faster than they were before. And when a pack that size puts their collective heads together and decide they want to go, they're going to be able to go. So I think I was just going to say that they might sit in there behind them and try and save a little bit of fuel. But no, they want to put them a lap down. And that probably makes sense given the fact that they're generally going to be threats for the win. And the old saying, whenever you've got an opportunity to put a fast guy lap down, you do it. And it looks like they've taken that strategy. They want to keep those guys as little a threat as possible. Because as much as DPR guys, those two, they want to stay on the lead lap. If that caution comes out, gets them right back into it. The rest of those guys in that lead pack know that if that happens, then they're going to be a threat. Oh, we got one spinning. Is that going to bring the caution out? It's got to. Does it? No. We don't have that caution. Looks like it was recovered. That was Matthew Beale going sideways. In fact, no, it wasn't. Matthew Beale was avoiding it. Just going back there to see exactly what's happened. Looks like the number 6. That is... My apologies. The 6 car. I should know who this is. Justin Allen, of course. Yeah, Justin Allen. Looks as though he's just taken a bit of a bad bump there. Little bit of a sandwich. Yeah, he's just... The pack in front was going a bit slower than him. The car behind, I think that's Campbell. Just, there's not really a whole lot he can do to actually see those guys in front checking up like that. And unfortunately, Allen just became the meat in the sandwich and he got spat out. He's done a really good job to sort of recover that. He's gone up into the wall, locked up the brakes, but it hasn't brought a caution out. He's even been hit. Like, he's locked up the brakes on the track. He's been hit from behind by Derek Jacobs. And it's not brought the caution out. Jacobs' car's absolutely munted. And Justin Allen's car's not going to be too much better. He's going to the pit road. I cannot believe that didn't bring the caution out. Absolutely stunned. But it is what it is. And interestingly, while all that was going on, Ryan Jones has managed to get himself into that lucky dog spot. So he's managed to dislodge Matty Raymond from that. Fought off his teammate as well. And so he's sitting there in the lucky dog spot. So if there's a caution comes out, so long as he's not involved in it, so he can't go out there and cause it for those watching at home. But if there's a caution comes out and he's not involved in it, he'll get a wave around. He'll get his lap back. And that's such an important thing to have when you're a lap down, is that lucky dog spot.
And we've now see these three leaders, Urquio, Walden and Sumter, gap that second group back to Nankervis. So they're on the high line trying to make that work. So Nankervis is actually in 4th place at the moment.
Yeah, 4 cars on their own aren't going to jump out that far. If that second pack, it's almost a second pack now. If they don't want them to jump out that far, they're not going to jump out that far. It's completely in control of the larger pack behind at the moment, being led by Stephen Williams. So I don't think you're going to see this top 4 get out of sight.
I've just gone back, and unfortunately the session log is not picking up anything, any incidents. So I will try and get that working while we keep an eye on this this battle here.
And Matthew Beale has somehow got himself a black flag, which he's just come down to clear. I don't think that would have happened while he was avoiding that incident. He wasn't that close, I don't think, to pit road for there to be a penalty. So I'm not sure where he picked that one up, but he had it. So he's come in, he's served that, and he's back on track now. He's probably going to wind up dropping a lap out of that. Now, I wonder if, and I'm just sort of thinking out loud here, I wonder if these DPR cars, being both a lap down, are going to try at least one of them, as I see Williams making the big old move to the top there and Sumter trying to block but winding up in the middle. I wonder if, Williams or someone like that is going to make a push to the lead, because, of course, you can't have 2 cars getting the lucky dog. So one of them, ideally, wants to be there in front of the leaders, so he's not a lap down. So, you know, is that something that Jones or Williams are going to go out there and try and get one of them ahead of Urquijo there and let the other one sit in the lucky dog spot or something like that? It's a good idea, I think, for one of them to try and do it, but it's getting a little bit racy back there as well, because Schultz was there, and he looked like he was trying to cover off the valve cars. He's kind of been hung out into the middle now with no one to work with. Got that third group coming high. We've got Sumter on the back of Williams giving him a really nice push at the moment. Will Jones jump out a line up into that outside line ahead of his teammate if there's momentum there? Maybe. Just kind of keeping a bit of an eye on that. Top line probably hasn't got enough energy in it at the moment to do that, but you definitely want, if you were DPR or really anybody who's not on the lead lap, you'd want to be either in that lucky dog spot or you'd want to be pushing to get around Urquijo and actually effectively get your lap back on your own.
And that outside line's definitely dropped off. It's lost momentum. Now that it's only got the 3 cars there. So unfortunate for Williams.
And Matty Raymond's there. He's up there working with Williams. It's in his best interest to do so at the moment because he's, if that line is able to drive to the front, then Matty Ray's going to get his lap back as well. So he's got plenty of incentive to push Williams along there. He won't care who he gets around the leaders with. He just wants his lap back. So he's got to be pushing as hard as he possibly can to get both himself and Williams up there around. Jones does move up to that outside line now. So there's obviously enough momentum in it. That's going to hurt the bottom lane a little bit because there's a bit of a gap that Jones left in between JCW and Nankervis, and you can see that reflected in the top line moving forward now. Here they go. They're getting their lap back. Are they going to try and drop down? It looks like they might. That's a really good tandem draft. They've done a great job there. Those two have been pushing so well together all night, and that's the strength of it. The fact that they've just been able to drive around and get their lap back. And now Matty Raymond, I think he's going to be able to slot down there as well in front of his teammate. Luckily, his teammate Urquijo, leading at the moment, was just nice enough to him to be able to check up and let him get his lap back as well.
That's something now into the lead.
Centre into the lead. So there's a little bit of teammate help there, but how good was that tandem draft around the top?
Yeah, definitely a great draft.
Yeah, it shows what two guys can do when they hook up properly. And that was a really good piece of drafting there just to get that push on, to get them back around there. And now we've got 3 of those cars that we were talking about racing to get their laps back. They've got their laps back. So now the car sitting there in the lucky dog spot is that Kellogg's car on the outside. And he's out there all alone now, Tom Neal. He's just going to be hoping to stay in front of Aiden Schultz, although it looks like Schultz is going to be going past him on that bottom line to take the lucky dog spot for himself. So that's going to be a bit of a race between those two to try and stay in that lucky dog position. So I wonder if now the leaders, Sumter, Urquijo, JCW, that group, whether they focus on trying to get those guys a lap down again. You wouldn't say that Urquijo would be trying too hard to put Matty Raymond a lap down, but I just wonder if they're going to try to get those guys back behind them, if there's going to be any racing going on to try and actually keep those fast cars a lap down. Because if caution comes out, those 3 guys drive all the way around, back onto the back, and they're a threat again. Whereas if they're a lap down, they're not. So, bit of incentive for the leaders to do something, but I think they're also thinking of their fuel, and they might just be happy to ride for the time being. We'll see.
Just trying to do some sums. Well, we're still going to have 2 more pit stops, Ed. So it's going to be interesting when we come to that last pit stop where these guys are. If we do get a caution, it's null and void, as you said, because these guys will just drive around. But if we do stay green whole race, it's going to be hard for them to get right back around and back onto the lead lap.
Yeah, all it's doing at the moment is giving themselves a chance, right? They still need that caution, but they need to give themselves the best possible chance that they can, and at the moment they're doing that. They're doing everything they need to do, staying on the lead lap. Well, they've worked their way back up to being just on the lead lap. If it stays green, they're going to be out of luck, but if the caution comes out, that's going to help them. And I wouldn't think that we're going to run caution free. We might up until the last 20 laps, but there's going to be a sting in the tail of this one. There always is at Talladega. You can bank on it. So the key for them is going to be making sure that they manage to retain their position on the lead lap throughout the next pit cycle. That's really important. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle because they've got no choice but to get up there and lead this line, which means that they're going to be burning that fuel. But it's the best of a bad lot at the moment. They've just got to do it. They've got no other option. So hopefully those guys who are those trio that is a lap down, they can pit together. And if they can pit together, they've got a chance of keeping that lap. And you never know. Ikuicho might go with them because Matty Raymond's in that group. So you never know.
Oh, on the lap 108, so 80 laps left in this race. I wonder if anyone that's out there watching and tuned in with us tonight, if anyone's game to make a bet on who's going to win this race. You still can't, as you said earlier, just a few moments ago, you can't count out those DPR cars or Matty Ray.
We got a wreck! Did we have a wreck? It looked as though we were going to get a wreck. Aiden Schultz was putting his nose down the inside of one of the valve cars there. He kind of bumped him up out of line and then sort of had a bit of overlap on the bottom. I'm just going to go back and have a quick look at that actually so I can get a better read on exactly what happened. So I think Schultz has got into the back of Lefebvre and it's just that sandwich again which has pushed Lefebvre out of line. Lefebvre's turned down across the nose of Schultz. They've got together, but they've recovered. But they've bounced right back up into sort of the middle of the second pack. But no one's wrecked. So they've kind of got going again. It's cost them both a boatload of time, but nobody's actually wrecked. But what that's done is that has absolutely killed both of those guys' chances of sitting there in the lucky dog spot for the time being. And Tom Neal's just gone, thanks very much. Well, I'll just take that for myself. It has led to a big break, though, between the front group there, which I think goes down. Goes down to about 10th place, 7th place. Yeah, going to have to wait for the timing to update this time around. But yeah, there's still a bit of a lead pack there, and there's been a bit of a break. So once again, the Smith and Drady have found themselves in a fight back situation. So we've seen them have to do that twice. Can they do it a third time?
And these two here, they Scott Lethborough and Adam Ariel need to get into a single line because they are very rapidly losing the back of that group with Aiden Schultz there.
Yeah, that makes no sense at all. To be sitting side by side like that. There we go. They got themselves sorted out now. But it's just going to... I wonder if it's just taken a bit too long because they're going to have to regain their momentum as well. And there's only two of them. And we've seen how well a tandem draft can be executed so far. And they're doing their best to do that. But, you know, they're coming up towards... yeah, they're kind of just stuck there in no man's land, aren't they? They've got a big pack coming behind them, which you'd imagine is going to run them down fairly quickly because those guys are going to be running flat out. But anyway, sort of as you were, a couple of extra gaps put in the field, but very much as you were at the minute.
There's that gap that group you were talking about. So they need to get themselves into a line too.
At least Drady and Smith have got a few lappers working with them as well. That's at least giving them a chance. I mean, on the timing at the moment, it kind of looks as though they're kind of out there on their own, but they're not. They've got a few lapped cars in there with them, and if they can get running well, and they look like they're running pretty well, they'll be able to make some headway, hopefully, for them. And then you've got another sort of third big pack, which is as a result of that big checkup we saw, as a result of those two cars getting together. So it's kind of separated the pack out a little bit. So it remains to be seen whether those guys can kind of pull that time back. But right now, I guess, the main story is Jones, Williams and Raymond, those three cars that are oh so close to a lap down, just hanging out there leading the line at the moment and trying to make sure that they're able to, if they get that caution, and they nearly had it, but if they get that caution, that lap comes back around. So, yeah, we'll see if we get one before the next pit cycle. But on form so far, we've been trying to wreck. We've tried to have a couple of cautions, but we haven't had them. So, they've got to be cursing. Those guys really want that caution to get themselves back around and up to the tail of these guys rather than trying to fend them off from behind.
Yeah, definitely right. I just had a look there. We'll jump back to Mark Smith and have a zoom in. He's definitely got some damage there on that left front. So that's going to be hurting him just ever so slightly, Ed.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be too bad, seeing as he's got a car in front of him. If he was kind of running out there leading that line, it might take a little bit of an edge off the performance, but he can kind of hide that damage part out of the airflow just by positioning properly in behind the car in front. So I don't think it's going to be too big an issue for him. They can probably hammer that straight a little bit on his next pit stop as well. So I think it'll be okay. Maybe it'd hurt him if he was sort of one-on-one in a run to the line for a position, something like that, where he had both cars fighting clean air. But so long as he's in a queue with some other cars, I don't reckon that's going to be too much of an issue for him.
We'll jump back up front. And those three lap cars definitely doing a fantastic job staying in front of our race leader, Sumter. Again,
yeah, they're not running flat out either. They're only sort of running around about 310. So they're not pushing as hard as they could possibly push. So it looks as though the race leaders have actually kind of made up their mind. We'll actually take the fuel benefit of being behind somebody rather than trying to work real hard to put these guys a lap down. And that Drady Smith group is making its way up to the back of the leaders again. They've cut a second out of that gap, so they're going to be back up there. That's really kind of saved their bacon being in there with those few lap cars as well. And then further back, 12 seconds back now, we've got that big pack being led by Wayne Van Billion. In fact, I don't actually think he's the first car in front of it. They're sort of moving out to pass a couple of lappers there now, which they've just caught up to. Oh yeah, that was that duo that we saw there running there before. So yeah, that's probably not going to help them running out there. They know what they're doing. They'll get themselves sorted out. But yeah, it's just going to cost them a little bit of time while they get it sorted out.
Phelps into the
We've got a few cars going to the pits. I reckon Ruben Phelps. We've got a big lock up there from Kobe Jordan. Did he get that pulled up in time? It looks like he did. That wasn't as bad a mistake like pit entry as we've seen from a few of the guys. I thought he'd probably get it pulled up, and he has done. He just got a really big lock up on the, I believe that was the left front. So him and Phelps, I think one other has come in as well. So we'll see how they all kind of shake out. Amazing that we're back up to pit stops already, but we are. Laps are ticking off, time's flying by.
Jake Saddington was the third car in.
Saddington, right, that makes sense. So I'm wondering if you'd assume that Matty Raymond was going to work with the two DPR cars because it's in his best interest to do it. Is he going to pit when they pit, knowing that they would have used a little bit more fuel? But that could also drag all the leaders in because Aquijo may go with Matty Ray, which could in turn prompt JCW to go. And there's a lot of radio chatter at the moment. I can't quite hear what they're saying, but it's entirely possible that we've got a few pit stops really, really imminent. So we're going to see what happens here. Here they go. They're all going to pit road. That entire lead/tail of the lead lap pack going together. no smoke off Jones this time, so it looks as though he's just backed that one down a little bit, but certainly enough to still get a good pit entry. It looks like it was quite quick on the way in, so that's fine. Yeah, that entire lead pack and those lap down cars as well, or nearly lap down cars who are fighting for their lives up there, they've all come down there together, so that is kind of what we predicted coming to pass. Sumter just overshot his box a little bit, but that'll be okay. He'll still be able to tack on to the back of these guys, I think. Just sort of watching to see how they get out. Is Jones and Co going to be able to hang on to that lead lap? No, Matty Raymond's got out at the head of that pack, but the rest of those guys have not got out, have not retained their lead lap position. Nankervis has actually jumped them, so the good news for DPR at least is they're together, so if they can hook up a good one of those tandem drafts again, they can fire out past and get past the leader, hook up there with Matty Raymond. But Raymond he got a really good stop, didn't he?
Yeah,
he's miles
excellent.
ahead.
Yep, excellent stop.
But that's going to be a curse because he's not going to have any momentum. The guys are going to come with a head of steam and just round him up if he's not careful. So it just depends how aggressive Nankervis wants to be as they inevitably catch him. Jones making the move to the outside. He's kind of been shuffled out of line a little bit. Williams didn't go with him. And Jones now moving all the way to the back of that pack. So we've got a car that's almost a lap down. Then our leader, net leader, once this all shakes out, Jamie Nankervis. Then Stephen Williams is going to be the lucky dog. And then we've got a few more lead lap cars, and then Ryan Jones at the back of that pack. He's also going to be one lap down at the moment. At the moment, they're all a lap down because the rest of them haven't come in yet. But Drady, our new leader, he's just hit pit road. Mark Smith, he's hit pit road as well. Gary Wellman takes the lead of the race. He continues on. So we're going to see how this all shakes out.
Right at the moment, look who's in second.
Quiet achiever Norman Clark. We'll see how that all shakes out because he was running alone with Wellman by the time he came in. So we'll see. There are the Lucas Oil cars. They've still got some work to do to catch that lead pack. They must have felt like they've been playing catch up all race. They're going to have to do it all again, and they haven't got great numbers back there. But we're going to see Nankervis slot into the lead of the race. Matty Raymond leading the line though. Almost a lap down, but not quite. And we've talked a little bit about DPR and where they're sort of sitting as far as getting their lap back. Where they're sitting right now is not where they're going to want to stay because we've got Stephen Williams. He's sat there at the moment in the lucky dog position, or at least he will be when all the timing shakes out. He is now. And Ryan Jones is not. So he's going to have to make some moves. He doesn't want, because if the caution comes out, Stephen Williams, not right now because not everyone's pitted yet. We're still waiting on Wellman and Clark to come in. But after they pit, it's going to be like Williams is in that lucky dog spot, but if the caution comes out, Ryan Jones isn't going to get anything. He's going to be stuck a lap down. So I'm sure he's talking to Williams about it, about when to make the best move, but it's difficult back there. With that much separation between the cars, it's difficult to make something happen. I've got Gary Wellman, he's on pit road, Norman Clark's on pit road as well. So they give up their lead, and they're got to see where they're going to filter out. They're going to filter out a little bit in no man's land by the looks of it. They're not really going to be running with anyone, I don't think. So yeah, they're all really kind of scattered out at the back there. Like a pack will emerge at some point because we've got a group of 4 running pretty hard, sort of bringing up the rear, and they're going to do that snowball thing and pick up all those other cars on the way. So they will eventually form up, but at the moment it's just dribs and drabs back there.
And just come back to the lead group, and then Nankervis has pulled out, and on that high line he's dropped to the rear of that lead group. So that gives Jeremy Sumter the race lead again.
I'm a little bit surprised that he did that. He wasn't going to be using a ton of fuel set up there behind Matty Ray like that. So it's not like he's dropping back for fuel save reasons. And now he's sort of fallen off the back of the draft a little bit. And if he doesn't get a wriggle on, he's going to lose that draft as well. So I don't know. If we talk to him after the race, we'll have to ask him. But I don't know why he did that. Yeah, he's lost the draft.
Yep, he definitely has, Ed.
That has not worked out for him. Whatever he was planning by doing that move, this is the opposite of what he wanted. Surely. Unless he's got some wacky plan going on, that makes a whole lot of no sense.
Well, I mean to say that the guys that are in 6th and 7th, there's Drady and Smith, and they're nearly 4 seconds behind him. So
yeah,
I don't know what he's done there.
He's either made a mistake or he really, really likes doing difficult fight backs. Because he's been doing it all night trying to catch back up to the lead pack, and now he's just kind of 3 seconds down. So, if we get a chance to talk to him after the race, if he manages to pull it off and get a podium and we get an interview, we'll ask him for you. But at the moment, I got no idea about that one. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Absolutely makes no sense to me.
Right, so what that's actually done, though, is it's changed the dynamic as far as the lucky dog. And what that's actually done is save Ryan Jones's bacon, really, if a caution comes out now, because now both Matty Raymond and Stephen Williams are sat there at the tail end of the lead lap. They're in front of the leader, so they're counted as being on the lead lap, which means that now Ryan Jones has got the lucky dog. So he can relax a little bit. He doesn't have to... He was probably sitting back there thinking to himself, I've got to make a move here. I've got to make something happen to get up there and around the leaders. Now he doesn't have to worry. If he can get up and around the leader, then great. That saves him a bit of mess around at the pit stops and in that cycle, and will give him a bit more of a benefit being on that lead lap. But at least he's going to get that lap back one way or another, provided he's not in that caution. I mean, it could come from here. It is the biggest pack we've got on the track at the moment, so hopefully not. But, at least that's kind of, from his perspective, that sort of saved his bacon a little bit. And he can rest easy being in that lucky dog spot now, so long as his teammate up there stays in front of Sumter.
So we will definitely see another, excuse me, we'll definitely see another round of pit stops before this race is over. So let's wait and see what happens there, Ed, because that will definitely mix things up again too.
Yeah, if we go green the entire way there, that's going to... Yeah, it's going to be essentially a replay of last time, where the guys who are fighting for their lap here really need to make sure they get on and off pit road well. Everybody needs to make sure they get on and off pit road well. And the guys, that you're seeing in that lead pack at the moment, and in terms of the guys who are actually up there in that lead pack, who are genuinely in that lead pack and not a lap down or very nearly, Sumter, Carol Walden, Tom Williams and Aquejo, they're the guys who've gotten on and off pit road well all race and haven't made any mistakes. There's a few guys out there who've made mistakes on pit road, quite a few. They're most of the ones you see out there with one lap down next to their names, the guys who've made mistakes on pit road. And you've also got guys who've just made other errors, such as Nankervis dropping all the way back the way he has. Although it looks like he's managed to slot in there with the two Lucas Oil cars now, who he's been around all race. But those guys that you're actually seeing in contention for the win at the moment are the guys who haven't made any pit road errors. And it's so important to do that, is to get on and off pit road well, and it just gets shown time after time after time. And especially with the guys racing like they have been, everyone racing really well and really clean, like there hasn't been any wrecks, and you don't get a lot of wrecks with the next gen car because it is so advantageous to run single file and save fuel and all the things we've already talked about. I miss the Gen 4. We would have definitely had a few racks by now in the Gen 4.
You miss the 87s. Tell the truth.
Okay, I miss the 87s as well. I love the 87s. But then again, we ran a 500-mile Talladega race in those. We didn't see a single caution in those either because they're not limited. They don't have pack racing, so people spread out from one another, and that's the way in which that race stays clean. But, you know, Gen 4s, those kind of things, they've got the restrictor plates in them. They still pack race, but they do wear tyres. They don't allow you to fuel save in the same way, and you see a lot more 2, 3, even 4 wide stuff for those that are brave enough. And, of course, that kind of thing creates the action and the wrecks. But, the good old next gen, it's just a little bit too well behaved, I think. Until the last few laps. It won't be well behaved then, trust me.
No, definitely not. And look, I spoke to Carl there the other night on the Performance E stream, and you know, if Jones is up there near the front, if he can get his lap back and near that front, definitely going to be on, and we will see both Steve Williams and Jones run hard with each other. But same with JCW. He's not scared to get in there and give a good hard push. I've seen him push some people to race winners. But JCW has been away most of the early part of this season, and he'd definitely be looking to secure a playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, if those two get their lap back, if those two DPR cars get their lap back, one of them would be my pick for the win. Honestly, because the way that they've drafted together so far tonight has been fantastic, to be perfectly honest. Like, they have, even when they were running, remember earlier on in the race when they were out on their own and they were running as a duo and they were running as quick as anyone else just by the way that they were drafting. And then we saw that big time tandem draft move around the outside of the leaders to get their lap back a little bit earlier on. If you can overtake like that, working as a duo, they're in really good shape. All right, so if they can get their lap back, they're definitely going to be a threat. The other ones that I'd say just out of the group that are up front at the moment, I think JCW and Equijo have been working quite well together all night as well. So if not one of the DPR cars, I would say one of those, and it could even wind up as a scenario where it's those two drafting versus the DPR guys drafting, and they're potentially fighting it out. It's going to be a battle of who can hook up the best tandem, but that's also probably not giving enough credit to someone like Jeremy Sumter, who's run up front all night as well. Just needs a little bit of teammate help or someone to latch on with him. And if we do get that caution, the only way that we're going to see that fight play out anyway is if we get a caution that allows all that to come to pass. And then you've got, how many Valve cars are out there tonight? I think there's at least four, if not five. Five of them out there. SRM as well have got a good number of cars out there too. And that's not even talking about the VSK guys who've all sort of had their issues tonight, but one caution can bring all of those guys back into play as well. So, and there's plenty more combinations I'm not even talking about in that list because I don't want to drone on, although I am. But there's a lot of different combinations that if we get that late caution, it's going to put a whole bunch of people into contention for the race. And that's what makes me think if we're going to get one caution, we're going to get a few. Because there's so many potential winners in there. As Matty Raymond gets a big old bump from Stephen Williams there, knocks him right out of line. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. I don't think it was. But what that's had the effect of doing is it's dropped Matty Raymond right out of line, and he's going to have to find a spot to slot into, which he has, and that changes the dynamic again. And Ryan Jones, through having done nothing differently, is now not the lucky dog anymore, because Matty Raymond is behind the leader, and now he is holding on to that lucky dog spot. So Stephen Williams, by bumping Matty Ray out of line like that, has actually screwed his teammate, if a caution's to come out right now. So, they're going to want to... We're just going to have to see how that shakes out, because that's not ideal from their perspective.
And this here's going to shake things up with these lap cars on that low line, those top line cars are getting held up ever so slightly.
Yeah, it's going to hold up the lead pack a little bit. I don't think it's going to... I mean, everybody else is so far behind. I don't think that it's going to be race changing. They're just going to filter past these guys. Ryan Jones, he's just gone to the middle there. He's just seen a little bit of an opportunity to make a move. Looks like those SRM guys are Quijo. Although, I was just going to say, yeah, it looks like they are. Sort of trying to get something going up top, but it looks as though Matty Ray's had to bail on that. They just didn't have the momentum. So, yeah, slotted back into single file now. Ryan Jones is right behind his rival for the lucky dog spot and a little way behind him too, so he could potentially build a bit of a run. The only thing that's going to stop him from doing that is Matty Ray's also got the draft and going to be able to build a run of his own in there behind that leading four. So probably not a huge amount of momentum there for him, but he's run to the outside. Jones has run to the outside. He's taken that run, and this is the fight for the lucky dog going on right there. Jones versus Raymond. Raymond's got the help at the moment. Jones trying to get a little bit of a side draft, but Raymond's the one who's actually got the help in there behind him on the low line, so this is going to be hard for Jones to do all on his own. He needs somebody to jump up there with him. He's just hooking on the side draft. Nice. He's done well there. Pulled Matty Raymond back. It's a proper battle, these two guys. Quijo coming to Matty Raymond's rescue, though, slotting in right behind his teammate, and he's going to give him that big old push. And there's nothing Jones is going to be able to do to fight that. So, slots back into line, and he's going to have to come up with another idea. Probably the best thing for them all to do is to get their momentum back. Run single file, get their momentum back, and try to push up and try and get a run on that little breakaway at the front. And if they can get some momentum, perhaps they can all slide by him on the outside and solve all their problems.
Yeah.
Get Matty Raymond his lap back, get Ryan Jones his lap back, and he'll get Quijo the lead. So what's not to like? Let's see what they do. No, they're all just going to hang in there behind. So I don't know. I reckon I might have taken the run in that perspective, but we don't know what their fuel situation is either. So hard to tell.
Well, 20 laps into this fuel, 21 laps into this fuel stint. So it'll be down around half tanks by now, I'd say, with those guys being able to save a little bit.
Yeah, so you say the next stop would be the final stop, we reckon, or is there another one after?
No, next stop should see the guys home. So 140. Oh, it's going to be... No, definitely one more stop.
Right, one more stop, and that'll get everybody home. Okay, so just saw, and I was just about to remark on it, Jones is kind of hanging back there, trying to gain a little bit of a run with the help of those two cars behind him. He's going to be fighting an uphill battle, though, because he's got two teammates in front of each other, and he knows that Quijo is not going to leave Matty Ray. So he's going to have to build a hell of a run. It's only whether or not the caution comes out, though, and we haven't seen it yet. So I reckon for now, like, they can sort of relax. I mean, it'd be nice to be in the lucky dog spot, but I don't think it's not going to be the be-all and end-all. It doesn't matter if the caution doesn't come out, right? So...
But as you said, Ed, normally if we get one caution, we get a couple.
We'll get a couple. So I've just noticed Ruben Phelps drop out of the race as well. I'm not 100% sure what's happened to him. But he's gone. So he was a good few laps down, I think. One of those few guys who was sitting around about 6 laps down. Drady's in the pits as well, actually. He's got a lot of damage on that car.
There's a couple. So, must apologise, ladies and gentlemen. The timing light screen hasn't lit it up, but Paul Drady's in there with heavy damage. Got no nose, and I do think Luke Jager is in there too. So unless those three have had to come together.
Yeah, he got. I think Drady got turned by Schultz. It looks like. He spun down the back stretch. It hasn't brought the caution out. So, I'll tell you what. Old Aiden's not going to be popular down at Lucas Oil. He's gotten to the back of Drady, spun him out. Although I don't want to call fault on it because it is very line ball, but he's then come back up onto the track and turned Mark Smith.
Oh.
I'm not going to say any more about that. That's one for the everyone else to judge. But yeah, he's not going to be the best friend down at Lucas Oil. But again, I'm not assigning blame by that either. You know, they were very very knife-edge sort of stuff there, and always a little bit difficult to see when you're watching it sort of third person like this. They don't always show the exact position of the cars and so on. So I'm not assigning blame, but certainly from the Lucas Oil perspective, I don't think Aiden's going to be on that Christmas card list. And we've just seen, I've just gone back to the lead pack now. Ryan Jones has just been shuffled to the back of that pack. It looks like he was trying to make a move and has been shuffled back. So obviously a little bit of frustration maybe jumping in that 11. I don't think he's got to worry too much yet though, because you know, we keep seeing wrecks, but they keep happening off the track, so we're not getting any cautions. So, you know, like we said, one caution will bring another. So he's going to get the lucky dog at some point, but you can understand him wanting it straight away. And this battle for the lucky dog is almost the most fun battle we've had, because the dynamic keeps changing so much in terms of you know, cars dropping forward, coming back, etc. Who's got the lucky dog? Who hasn't? So yeah, it's been a fun one to watch. That.
It's been a great racing right throughout the race tonight, Ed. 144 laps of green flag racing. Some great driving, and we've seen some great saves by drivers also.
Yeah, I'd say we've had 140 odd laps of green flag driving. I don't know how hard these guys have been racing, but they've definitely been driving. So there's that. But yeah, normally for me, racing is side by side, and we haven't seen a lot of that. It's been it's all strategy. It's probably going to be a 180 lap commute to an 8 lap race, I think, and we're still in that commute phase. That's why the racing for the lucky dog's been so hot.
So, anyone that's on the lead lap, would you be game enough to come in now? Because you can make it home from now, and take a set of tyres, or just top off with fuel and come out and run, or is everyone sitting out there waiting for that caution and praying for a caution?
Do you want the short answer or the long answer to that, mate?
Short.
No. No one's going to come down before they have to. Doesn't make any sense.
And we see Jones there jumping to the outside again.
Yeah, he's trying to make it happen, isn't he? He obviously really wants that lucky dog spot. And, you know, I can understand that as well. You're definitely going to try and get it if you can. But when you're the last car in line like that, it's so difficult to make something happen. It's really, really hard because you're doing it all by yourself. You're trying to gain runs, and the second you pull out, it's like a parachute and your car just stalls out. And he can't very well say to Stephen Williams, "Oh, jump out of line and help me," because Williams is like, "Hang on a second, I'm on the lead lap. I'm not doing that." You know, he's not going to sacrifice himself to try and get back there, and then all the time that it's going to take to build momentum with a couple of cars. I'm sure they're capable of doing it as a duo. They've shown that already, but he's not going to want to put his own lap at risk by going out there and doing that. And nobody else seems to want to jump to that high line. There's not a lot of incentive for anybody else to jump to that high line. So Jones he's going to keep trying, I think, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be real hard. But yeah, there's you've got to pit with the pack. You've got to keep the power and numbers there. So anybody deciding to jump in and do an early pit, most likely you're not going to be able to, unless you can take this whole lead pack with you, it's not going to work because you're just not going to get that momentum. You're going to sacrifice all that momentum to do it. And then because you've taken the whole lead pack with you, you haven't gained yourself anything anyway. So there's absolutely no point. You've got to run the tank out. If tyres made a difference, like fresh tyres made a difference, then yeah, potentially. Fresh tyres could help you out, and that's why you see it at all the other tracks, but definitely not here.
Well, Sumter's definitely giving Williams that good push and keeping him out there. And he's going to be able to save some fuel. So I wonder if any of these guys will actually chance getting home. 10 laps, no. They're going to be around 10 laps short on fuel if we stick to what we know and have seen in the past pit stops.
Right, so, yeah, look, they're not running flat out at the front. They're only doing about 307, 310, like, they're not going that hard. So, Williams is definitely not running flat out. He's trying to save some fuel if he can, as much as he can. But, of course, everybody that's in there behind him is going to be able to save a little bit more. At least he can be secure in the knowledge that when he comes down, he's got a teammate that's going to come with him who's right there. So, no matter what happens, DPR are going to pit together. I should imagine that maybe one or two of the others might jump in too. And you might actually see this lead pack divide in two. And then it's just a case of which group of them gets on and off pit road better to see who's going to wind up with the lead. They could all rejoin as one pack, or they could wind up getting fragmented like we've seen with the rest of the field. So, yeah, it's going to be... It's a tricky one because you yourself can get on and off pit road absolutely brilliantly, but if you haven't got a couple of cars who do the same thing equally as brilliantly, you're in a bit of strife. Like, it's not going to help you. So, Jones trying to make that big move again. He's using the side draft as well as he possibly can, trying to get around there to the outside. But so long as that bottom lane sticks together, I've been in that situation. It sucks. You can get about that far, but unless somebody jumps out to give you a hand, it's just not going to work. Like Quijo. Quijo hard into the inside wall there. That's not going to bring a caution either. What's happened there?
Looks like
he's just got a quick crooked bump from Campbell. He's got a real crooked bump from behind by Campbell. I think that's the second time this race I think we've seen someone spin off his nose. Not pointing fingers or anything. It's just the way that it's worked out. But it's really interesting. So Aquijo's in line. He's been side drafted a little bit by Ryan Jones, I think. He's slowed down. He's starting to get pulled off the back of Matty Ray, but for some reason he pulls out and goes closer to Jones, where you'd imagine that, if anything, he'd want to be trying to pull away. And Campbell's gone into the back of him and spun him around into the outside wall. I don't know why Quijo's gone out towards Jones. I would have thought, if anything, he would have dropped down away from him to try and get rid of that side draft. But he's gone out towards Jones. That's strengthened the side draft. That's pulled him backwards. And then Campbell's gone in the back of him. So, yeah, I don't know. That's one for after the race, I think. But, again, another car spinning onto the infield on the back straight. No caution. So, we stay as we are. That's kind of shortened up the pack a little bit. Jones is still trying to make that work on the outside. And he's got to be able to slot in ahead of one of them. He's made one spot, but in doing so, he's checked them up. So it's going to take him a minute to get back in line. So Sumter continues to lead, but he's not leading the pack, as you can see it, because he's in there behind Stephen Williams, who's who's breaking the air for him at the minute. So that's really all he can do. He certainly doesn't want to give up that spot and slot back in behind the leaders. Although he'd have the lucky dog, it's just additional risk he doesn't need. So he'll burn his fuel out there at the front because that's the best option available to him at the moment. And we're going to be getting real close to pit stops again. We've got a very, very broken up and fragmented pack here. So I imagine that all of this lead group is going to go together because it's just strength in numbers.
So we should see him down pit lane in the next 5 laps or so, Ed. So, yeah, who's going to be the first one to pull the pin?
And after all of this, we've actually only got, in terms of the way that the cars are running right now, we've only got 3 cars which are in contention, what you would say are in contention. And that is within sight of the lead, and that is Jeremy Sumter, Josh Carroll-Walden, and Tom Williams, who we barely even spoke about Tom Williams tonight, but he's been doing a really good job there. He's been solid sitting out there in that 22. Sitting there in third place, hasn't really made any mistakes. He's doing really, really well. So he's sat up there in that lead group as well. Everybody else needs something to happen. Everybody else needs a caution. These three will be happy to fight it out between the three of them, I think. They don't want any extra competition they don't need. But everybody else you see on the track, apart from that three, needs a caution, and they need it badly. We see Jones running for the lucky dog again. Matty Raymond's got the strength of the line and the strength of the draft, so wasn't able to get it done. But they're fighting over it. It's been a great battle for that lucky dog so far. Probably the battle of the race.
Yeah, definitely. And it's only going to take one of them to have a lapse of concentration, and the other one will jump on it very quickly.
Okay, we've got a few coming in. I think Jared Williams and Carl Nedler are going to be making their way towards pit lane. They are sort of sitting a little bit back in the field at the moment. Nedler is 3 laps down. Jared Williams only 1 lap down, but those two guys are going to be headed to the pit lane. Going to keep my eye on the leaders just to see what they do. I can only imagine they're all going to pit together. It doesn't make sense to do anything else.
Well, this whole group will come down pit lane together.
They have to. Yeah.
And again, now Raymond just moves up track a little bit, and that gives Art Jones the incentive to stick the nose down the inside. But
yeah, I wouldn't be giving Jones even a sniff of that, to be perfectly honest. If I was Matty Ray, I would be following that yellow line like my life depended on it. I would not be giving that 11 any idea that sneaking down the bottom is a good idea, because you don't want to lose that lucky dog. And you've seen how bad Jones wants it already. He's been up, he's been down, he's been all over the place trying to get it. He's done everything but drive over Matty Raymond to get there. I certainly wouldn't be giving him half an invite, that's for sure.
No, definitely not. And look, he is an aggressive driver, and I do like that about him at some points. And he will take that opportunity if the door's opened up for him.
Yeah, and that's the only way to race on these. Like, you've got to be selfish when you race in these types of races. I mean, any race, really, but you've got to be selfish and you've got to be aggressive. That's why the cars have been built the way they have been and designed the way they have been, to force guys to make these aggressive moves and to kind of embolden them to do that as well. The entire playoffs, winning you're in, is to promote aggression. And this is interesting. Sumter and Williams pit without the rest of them.
And I reckon Sumter
has stuffed it up. What has happened there? Has he just got in too hot?
So, because he was...
Yeah, he has sped, I believe. Maybe? No, he's blown it, unfortunately, and he's disconnected. So he blew his pit entry, and that is the end of a really good run. So that is one potential winner out of the running. That's unfortunate, because he had a really good night.
So that's now promoted Gary Willman up into 3rd, and Norman Clark 4th, and Jamie Curvis back in the 5th. And
if they weren't 8 light years off the lead, it'd be good.
Can you believe this? JCW has been left out there to dry. He's the only one that did not come into pit lane out of that lead group.
Well, that's his fault. Frankly, if everybody else pits in, he's got to go with them. So I don't know if he was left kind of leading that line and everyone's pitted from behind him. That's exactly what's happened. But they kind of left him high and dry there, I guess, him leading. But if he was able to react to those guys behind, he wouldn't be in this scenario. But this is with only 1 lap, as we said before. It takes the groups of cars a little bit of time to form up and get momentum. So if he pits this time around, he might be okay. Might. But he's running real slow, especially with that damage on the front. So he's coming down now. But it's going to be, if he manages to hook right back up onto the back of that lead pack, it's going to be a minor miracle. It just means that the lead pack has not done a very good job getting formed up, is what that means. We're just going to have to see how this shakes out. But I tell you what, one by one, the leaders are. If JCW doesn't come out well here, then all those guys who are fighting for their laps back, they've almost like not got to worry because all the leaders have screwed themselves. You know, so at the moment you've got Nankervis who's a lap down at the minute. That'll change as they sort of cross the line. But he's got the 66 behind him. I'm just wondering where Tom Williams is going to shake out of all of this. He's coming off pit road at the moment. I don't believe he's made any errors, although I wasn't watching him. He's come out all by himself because all the other leaders have done that. JCW's coming out, and he's coming out all by himself. So he's dead and buried. He's got no help at all, so he's dead and buried if he doesn't get some assistance there. That looks like... Oh, that's actually a good sight for him because Stephen Williams is coming up behind. He's been drafting really well all night. We know that. So I'm just trying to pick all this apart for everyone because there's a bit going on. And Stephen Williams is running there with one of the Valve cars, Jared Williams, who's 2 laps down. I was going to say that JCW would be able to hook onto the back of those, but it looks like he hasn't managed to do that. So now we've got a situation just waiting for everything to shake out so we can explain this absolutely properly, but it's going to take a lap for everyone to pass the timing beams and so on in order for that to happen. I think Ryan Jones, Matty Raymond and Stephen Williams have definitely, Jones and Raymond have got their laps back in all of this, and I think Tom Williams is going to be your leader. Although I think he might be slipping down there now as well. He is. He's paying the price for coming out alone, which really wasn't any of his doing. Just watching the timing here. So it's all over the shop. JCW's still being listed as right out front. But I can't imagine how that's right because he's been down the lane. But it's showing him as 36 seconds to the good at the moment. Maybe he just took a splash. But I can't imagine how he's come out that much further ahead as everyone else. What am I missing here, Mark?
I have no idea because my timing screen is still showing JCW, as you said, 30 seconds up the road.
Yeah, I feel like we must be missing something here because he pitted by himself. And he might have just taken a splash, but yeah, that could have been it. If he's taken a splash to get to the end, then that could have put him out ahead of everybody else because I was expecting him to sort of drop down. But if he's just taken a splash to get him home, but he's got the pack coming behind him and they are 31 seconds behind him at the moment now. And that pack is actually being led by Wayne Van Billion, who, with the greatest respect, hasn't been up front all night. You know, he's been kind of mired down in the lower reaches of the pack. But he's up there right now. Shane Bowen's up there in third, and he'd fallen down a little bit as well.
And
Mark Smith, after taking a trip across the grass, he's fourth.
And look who's there. Jake Saddington, last year's
Saddington
winner.
and Clark, yeah. Tom Williams, who did come out, he did nothing wrong. He did everything right. Came off the pits as probably our net leader, if you take JCW out of it, who's lapping way slower than anybody else at the moment, by the way. But he just didn't have the momentum, and that pack has just drafted past him. But luckily for him, he's managed to hook onto the back of it. So they're running 2x2. They're running a good few seconds a lap faster than JCW at the minute. So this is all over the place. Everybody who we thought was going to be up there leading. And interestingly, we haven't seen a caution, right? But Matthew Raymond, Ryan Jones, and that pack, who were fighting for their lap, are now only 4 seconds off the back of the pack, which is catching JCW for the lead. So if these guys, and they're running together really well, Jones has given Matty Ray really good push, they're running really pretty quickly. If those guys manage to get themselves sorted out and they can run a decent speed, although they just spat Gary Wellman out to the side there, but if they manage to get themselves sorted out and catch that pack in front, these guys are going to be running for the lead, and they've done that under green. And that's entirely because so many of the leaders screwed themselves up. So they just kind of had to sort of wait there and wait for everybody else to make mistakes. We didn't really talk about that. We're all about lucky dogs and everything else. But in the end, they've just kind of been able to sit there, wait for other guys to make mistakes, and now they've really got to get the hammer down to try and push up to the back of that secondary pack, because they're running JCW down at about 2 seconds a lap.
Ah, Talladega.
I've never seen a more mixed up mental race where we haven't had a caution. We're going to get one though, I can tell you. If we've got these two packs plus JCW all there converging towards the end of this one, we're not going to run green to the end, I can tell you that much right now.
No, definitely not. Oh, Tristan getting very loose.
Getting down there on the apron. That was very nearly a mess. Very nearly a mess, and that's going to affect the speed of the three guys in front of them as well as they're running. They need those other cars to be on the back of them to make something happen.
Neil needs to close up and get it back up under Willman's wing there, which he's done, and closing up, so they'll get back up to speed very quickly.
Yeah, it's just going to take them a little bit to build that momentum back, but they just need to stop. We've got cars down side by side, we've got cars moving around. They need to stop fluffing about and get on with it, because this is crucial for them. Right, what they're doing right now behind, I've got absolutely no idea. They've side drafted each other and pulled themselves off the back of those three cars in front. That makes no sense at all. Right, if they want to, sometimes I wonder if they want to actually win this thing or not, because this is absolutely crucial for them to get themselves sorted out. So I don't know what they're doing, but they need to sort it out, and fast.
Yeah, look,
finally, back single file again.
Look, Williams and Jones and then Curvis and Raymond will pull away from these guys if they don't sort themselves out. And as you said, Ed, they have done now.
But it was just unnecessary. It cost that entire line around about 5k an hour, which they don't need to be given up. They're already 4 or 5 seconds off. It's in a few laps, if they sort themselves out well, in a few laps they can be picking up the draft from that pack in front, and then they're effectively back in the battle for the lead. Because that's going to happen at some point. They're going to catch JCW, and it's going to be an all-in battle for the lead. But stop messing around, boys. Get the momentum and keep it.
Tristan moves to the high line.
Only 16 seconds now between JCW, who has got a drafting partner. He's only got one, but he's out there with Adam Ariel at the moment, and he's going to be pushing him as hard as he can. So I was wondering why they'd stopped catching him as quickly. They're still catching reasonably quickly, but they're not catching it as quickly now because he's got a little drafting buddy there. So they're going to keep working well together. He's going to try and stave them off for as long as he possibly can. We got 20 laps to go now, so we're going to see what kind of gap, how much has come down. It's sitting at 16.6 seconds last time around. So what's it going to come down to this time? It needs to be less than a significant amount less than a second. Any more than half a second or so, they're going to catch him. 15.3, so well over a second. So that second pack is still running at the pace that's going to catch JCW before the end.
So JCW still up there on the aerials.
This is going to be a caution. There it is. Jamie Nankervis, I think, hard into that outside wall. What's happened there? He's been turned by Schultz. So, Aidan Schultz has gotten to the back of Nankervis there and spun him right out. So, that's going to be our caution. That's going to bring everyone back together. Everything we were talking about before is moot. Wonder to see if anyone's going to come down. But, yeah, it's another one.
Just having a look at the replay here. Oh, just a bad rub across the back of the car.
Yeah, nothing intentional in it, that's for sure. But yeah, just a bit of a crooked bump is sometimes all it takes. And unfortunately, that's taken both cars out, so they both wound up in the wall. And it's so easy to do too. Like, it's when you're running that closer together, pushing as hard as those guys were pushing, and if you're going to attach your bumper to the back of another guy, you've got to get it dead center. And even if you do get it dead center, if that car moves, you can kind of slide it off your bumper that way and turn around. I'm genuinely surprised with all the pushing that we've had so far that we haven't seen that happen already. Although we've seen a couple of wrecks already that haven't brought the caution, but I'm surprised we haven't seen more of it, because it is so easy for that to happen in those close quarters. And let's not forget, in sim racing, we've also got netcode, which doesn't help. So, yeah, it makes it really tricky.
So that throws a spanner in the works. We won't have to worry about anyone chasing anyone down, because when we go back green, they'll all be together. And that puts Norman Clark in the second place, Tom Williams in the third, and Shane Bowen in the fourth, and Jake Saddington, our last year's winner, up into fifth place. But you've got to say Ryan Jones and Stevie Williams will start nose to tail on the restart.
Yep. Anyone else looking forward to that? Put your hand up. My hand's up, by the way. Yeah, that's going to be there's going to be some charging going on now. And we knew we were going to get this caution sooner or later. Didn't expect it to happen quite like that. But I kind of more expected it to be a jostle for the front positions there. But either way, it's happened. And a few guys coming down. Most of the leaders staying out. So we might actually just take this opportunity to run through the field, because there's been so much going on, sort of all over the place. So JCW is still our leader, but drastically reduced leader. He's sitting there only just in front of Norman Clark, who's sitting up there in P2, right there ahead of his teammate Tom Williams, who's been good all night. Shane Bowen, bit of a fight back from him. He's back up there in fourth position. Jake Saddington, fairly sure I'm right in saying that he's the last man standing for SRM as far as contention for this race goes, although I am wrong in saying that, because just behind Wayne Van Billion is Matthew Raymond, who's made his way up from the fringes of being a lap down, fought tooth and nail to hold on to that lead lap, and that has paid off for him. He's back up there. Ryan Jones, we've been talking about him a lot tonight, despite the fact that he spent a lot of it a lap down. He's back up there in 8th position. Now, no more fighting for the lucky dog for him. He can start fighting for the win. Then he's got Gary Wellman, who's had a bit of a quieter night, but he's up there in contention as well. Just needs someone to work with. And then Stephen Williams, he's going to be there starting right behind his teammate, and they're going to be able to get that real good tandem draft going again. I can't wait to see what they manage to do. And then we've got Mark Smith and Scott Lefebvre, and those two are our last cars on the lead lap. And then, going back to our cars which are a lap down, we've got, as things stand, Aidan Schultz, Tristan Koch, Tom Neal, Jared Williams, and Adam Ariel. And then 2 laps, showing us 2 laps down, but down in pit road at the moment, Jamie Nankervis. I wouldn't be surprised to see that car done. Brett Campbell is now our first car 2 laps down. We got Carl Nedler there. He's 3 laps down, and he's actually the last of our runners at the moment. Everybody else, Bumter, Jaeger, Aquijo, Allen, Drady, Phelps, Jordan, Beale, Jacobs, Tice, Butler, and Fenton, all out of this race. Lots of guys out of the race. It's our first caution. So, yeah, there's been stuff going on, people picking up damage, but we just haven't got yellows for it. But we've got a yellow now, and what are we coming up to? Around about 15 laps to go. Wonder how many more we're going to get.
Definitely probably 1 or 2 more, Ed. Some aggressive drivers left in this field, and they'll definitely want to be picking up some silverware and take this ANZAC Cup.
Yeah, big trophy, big occasion. It's one that everybody wants to win, especially with all the extra emphasis that Aussie Outlaws puts on this particular race. And it never fails to deliver, does it? We've had exciting finishes every single time, although it's taken us a little while to get here. What's going to happen? I'm putting my money on DPR making a third row tandem draft out there on the outside. But there's a few other teammate duos out there. So let's see a few guys out there who are just going to have to team up with people because they haven't got any teammates out there. So they're just going to have to build alliances as time goes on. But we'd expect JCW to go as late as he possibly can. He's got Tom Williams behind him. Let's see what happens. Alright, they're away. Bottom lane looking a little bit more broken up than you probably imagine they'd want to be. Couple of cars joined. They're 4 wide back there, actually. I'm not sure how many of those cars are on the lead lap. Only a couple, I think. But yeah, they're sitting there 4 wide. I'm not sure that I'd be sticking in there if I was a lap down. Top row coming around now. We've got, I think that's Williams getting a big push to the front. Is it Williams? No, it was Norman Clark getting a big push to the front. So Norman Clark slots down in front of JCW, and he's going to be leading this thing now. Bottom line is in a duo, but everybody's migrated up towards the top. That's a symptom of the fact that not too many guys on the bottom got away that well. Few guys looking towards the bottom to join onto that pack, but no, the front pack is going. But I tell you what, JCW's got one hell of a tandem draft going there. He's got Norman, former teammates, these two, of course, and they've just broken out on everybody else. The tandems come apart now, but yeah, it just shows the power of it, how far ahead they were able to get.
And that top line has absolutely stalled out.
They'll get back together. They're being led well. They'll get back together. I think they were just caught a bit off guard by a couple of guys looking towards the bottom and then checking out of it and coming back up. But here they are. We said that. JCW coming out to block that top lane. He's joined the top lane and he's going to push right past Norman Clark on the outside. He knows where that energy is and he's going all the way to the front, but he's got 2 teammates behind him. They're not going to stick with him for very long, I shouldn't imagine. Everyone's got fuel to get home now. Big one at the back. Here we go. We said it, didn't we? We said it was going to happen. I'm just having a look back there to see what happened. It looks as though potentially with the VSK guys were in it. I can see the 2-car went around.
Got the replay happening here.
Right, I think Ariel might have got a bad bump. Right, yeah. So Lefebvre has taken a look up high, caught the corner of Ariel and turned him outside into Nedler. And that's caught a couple of other cars up in it. Looks as though Wellman got a piece of that as well. That's unfortunate. Wellman's done everything right. Dropped down all the way to the bottom to avoid it. And another car's just bumped into him. And he's not the only one in that boat. But yeah, that's unfortunate for him. So, yeah. We did say this race was going to have a sting in the tail, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely did.
Yep.
and with JCW out front, now we've got Jones and Williams going to line up one inside and one outside. Jake Saddington there, again, as I said before, last year's winner. Norman Clark and Matty Ray still there, and Tom Williams. Shane Bowen had been able to get through that. Mark Smith there, Wayne Van Buren. So there's still some drivers that can take this win as we see Bowen comes in the pit lane.
Yeah, we got a few heading towards pit road, and I can only assume that they didn't have that. Maybe they're topping off for a green-white checker. Maybe they only had barely enough fuel to get home. Maybe they didn't have enough fuel to get home. We're only making that assumption, but potentially they're putting in enough to get us through green-white checkers. They're not dropping that far down. There's only 12 cars on the lead lap, 11 cars if you don't count Wellman, who's obviously got a lot of damage. So, yeah, they're still going to be very much in with a shout by doing that. Yeah, it's going to get crazy from here now, I think.
So Shane Bowen came in for a splash. He was only in his pit box for 5.1 seconds.
Yeah.
So maybe you're right, Ed. Maybe he didn't have enough. Maybe he's short filled, or as you said, maybe he's looking at a green-white checker because with now 12 laps to go, I wouldn't count out another caution.
All right, so as far as guys we've got here on the lead lap in contention, I'm just having a look at the teammates we've got. So we've got Jones and Williams. We've talked about them a lot. We've got Saddington and Raymond, who are going to be starting nose to tail. We've got Clark and Williams and Lefebvre, although I'm just having a look to see. Yeah, Lefebvre's still out there despite being involved in that wreck. I think he got away without too much damage. I think most of the rest of the guys are on their own. I'm just having a look at Van Billion. I think he's the only one of the VSK guys up there.
No, well, there's...
Am I missing someone?
Luke Jager, he's out there. He's associated with that VSR.
Yeah, but he's going to have to fall to the back of the group because he's not on the lead lap. So he's not going to be a lot of help straight away at the very least. So I'm just having a look at the teammates that are there. And then you've got the guys who are out there on their own. Carol Walden, Van Billion, Mark Smith, Shane Bowen. So those guys really they've got no choice but to team up with one another because those team guys are all going to find each other and they're all going to work together. At this stage of the race, they're going to get together and quite quickly. So now it's going to be a marriage of convenience with those guys. They've got to get together and work together because they're not going to be able to do it alone. I'm a little bit interested to know how much that front end damage is going to be hurting JCW because there's definitely a bit there. Leading the line and trying to fight people for a win potentially in clean air if you're making a run to the line. How that's going to affect him, not sure. He might need to sit behind and try a last corner slingshot or something like that because it's going to be really difficult with any kind of disadvantage. And he's got two. He's got no teammates and he's got front end damage. So he's at a bit of a disadvantage, although he does have the lead at the minute. So we're just going to have to see how this shakes out. But despite the fact he's in the lead, looking at what's going on around him, my money wouldn't be on him at this point. Alright, so they're rolling around towards the green flag again. I shouldn't think this is going to be the last flag we're going to see. I reckon we're going to get a couple more cautions before this one's over. But we're working lap 177 at the moment. Going to be ticking over to lap 178, so 10 laps to go in just a minute.
Anyone game enough to pick a winner?
Nope. Mate, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would not be putting money on the outcome of a super speedway race. That's for damn sure. And we are green. And away they go. Really even start this time. Both lines really, really even. And that's crucial because there's no space for any of the teammates that want to change lanes to get with their teammates. There's no space for them to do it because everyone's all jammed up. And you can see how close they're all running. We've got two lines getting away really, really evenly. And that's exactly what they would have wanted, what the independents out there, I'll call them, would have wanted to stop those teammates getting together. Outside lane getting a really nice push. Saddington doing a really good job pushing Jones on that outside there. And he's got a couple of cars with him. Jones moves down. Saddington stays up. Jones to the lead. Now the two SRM guys are together up the top, so we know Matty Raymond is going to push Saddington as hard as he could. We saw Saddington struggling with getting the big pushes a little bit earlier on in the race. Is that going to be different now? That bottom line, two DPR cars and an Atari car. We know all three of those cars should be pretty quick. And so they're making a bit of a breakaway from the two valve cars on the bottom, although it is shifting around quite a bit. Williams just dropping off the back of JCW. He's got a nice one of those tandems going again on the back of Jones, giving him a nice big push, but the tie line is holding in. It is 2x2 battle at the moment. Who's going to make that move to make a third line? Anybody who's kind of from the third row back or something like that is going to need to make that third line if they want to win this race. But they've got to wait for the right opportunity. They've got to build a run, and there's got to be space for them to do it crucially. So, yeah, there's a bit of a job. You'd rather be out the front at this point, mirror driving, I think, than trying to make something happen from further deep in that pack. A lot of bump drafting going on, some of it nice, some of it really crooked. So we're seeing a few cars starting to move around a little bit. It's always hard because no one's lifting anymore. Everyone's just bump, 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 bump. You know, they're Morse coding on the rear bumpers of those cars. Nobody's lifting. They've got a lapper coming up for good measure. Let's hope that one gets out the way. He hasn't so far. Last minute, dives off the track. But, crucially, dives off the track. So, no harm, no foul. Bottom line starting to push clear, that despite the best efforts of those SRM guys on the outside, they're pushing hard, but they're just not pushing quite hard enough. Stephen Williams looking as though, there was a bit of a half-hearted move to the top there. I think he wanted to get out and try and lead that top line, but it was a really half-hearted move. He didn't finish it. He started the move and he didn't finish it. Now he's been shuffled all the way to the back. That's not going to work out brilliantly for Jones. Is going to be sitting there going, where's my mate gone? What's happened? So yeah, he's going to be out there fighting with one arm tied behind his back for a while, and we've still got SRM teammates up there, we've still got Valve teammates up there, but I imagine now that JCW and Ryan Jones, they're going to be working together because they've got no other choice. They need to work together. They haven't got any friends up there, so yeah, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Is that the phrase? Can't remember. But in any case, those two are going to be working together.
And you can see there, Norman Clark tried to look to move outside. Don't be surprised if we see those valve cars try a move through the centre closer to the end of this race. Williams now up to make a third line. Anyone going to go with him? Yeah, someone's got to go with him. And I tell you what, that car's been quick. I could think, if I was somebody like Bowen or Mark Smith in there, I could think of a lot worse than getting up there in the line with Williams and trying to make some headway. A lot of worse things. But nobody went with him. Everyone's been real cautious. I don't know why you'd be being cautious now, but those SRM boys are pushed to the front, and a third car has got down, VSK, that's Van Billion. He's got down there into third place in front of Ryan Jones as well. So that bottom lane just sort of stalled out, didn't go anywhere. And those SRM boys are pushed to the lead. Are we going to see Saddington double up? Can you imagine if he won this twice in a row? There's only been one other person do that, and that's Dyson. And he's not in the field tonight. So
did he win it back-to-back, the ANZAC race?
He did.
Did he? Okay, well, I didn't even think anyone had done it. But there you go. I guess if anyone's going to hold some sort of record like that, it's probably going to be him, let's be honest. Yeah, Jones now moving to the outside. JCW's got to go with him here, and he does, and Bowen goes with him too. Good move from both of those guys. They had to. And that's got Bowen up in front of those Valve cars, which are just kind of tacking on the back of everyone at the moment. They're running a line, and every time they pull out to try and make a move themselves, somebody else pops up and leads that lane. Are we going to see the outside line go to the front again? It's kind of 2 versus 2 at the minute. JCW kind of left out high, which Ryan Jones jumps down in front of the SRM cars. Saddington giving him a big old push at the moment, and Bowen, JCW working outside. And another wreck at the back. Is that going to bring the caution out or not? It doesn't look like it is. No. I think they just bounced off the wall and kept going. I think that was Schultz involved, potentially. I didn't see who else was involved in that. He's had more hits than Elvis tonight, hasn't he? Yeah. It's a bit of wrong place, wrong time, I think. But anyhow, that top line pushing to the lead again. Bowen now abandons JCW at the top and jumps down in front of Ryan Jones. Jones going to give him a push. Stephen Williams has been cut loose. That little bump and stuff at the back and that has checked him up. I think there might be enough draft for him to drive back to him because they're 2x2 and that punches a much bigger hole in the air, but it's going to be difficult for him. So Jones and JCW now right out the front. They push to the front again. Bowen, who was leading moments ago, has gone to the back. JCW pulls up in front of the Valve cars. He's going to try and round up Jones around the outside. Jones all by himself. JCW, help from 2 Valve Esports cars, pushing on behind him. That top line seems to be the place to be at the moment, doesn't it? It's just got so much energy in it. Doesn't seem to matter who is in that lane, it just goes.
Jones has fallen well down the field now. He's back down to 9th.
Valve cars making a move to the top. JCW diving down in front of Matty Ray. Those 2 SRM cars have got separated in all of that. Valve have got 3 cars running together and 2 cars running together. The third one a little bit further back. Van Billion just sitting on those. Jones has got to be careful. He's got to jump up behind the closest car to him. Otherwise he's going to lose that draft. There he goes. He does exactly that. And he's going to be able to build a run from there. I'm not sure whether he's going to slot onto the bottom line or not. He could probably hope that Williams manages to get up there again, but no, he's been cut too far adrift. He's miles off now, Stephen Williams.
So, coming past this time by, 2 laps to go. Lap
Mate,
cars going to play a part, are they?
It looks like he is. He's not moving out the way, so they're all going to have to go around him on the top. And one of the Valve cars threading the needle back there to try and get up onto the back. I think that is Lefebvre, and he's been turned. Been turned. Are we going to get another caution? Come on, we've got to get a caution out of that. Surely, there's cars everywhere. Nope, no caution. So we won't go back and analyse that because we've only got a couple of laps to go. We can look at that in the post-race, but that has cut Jones well adrift. It's cut a couple of others well adrift. JCW, he's doing his best to block both lanes at the moment. He pulls up in front of the Valve cars. The Valve cars have actually separated. They pulled out. I think Norman Clark and Williams have gotten separated. They're not running in a line anymore. JCW comes back down. He jumps in front of Raymond, and those Valve boys, they need to get it sorted out. They're the only ones there with teammates. They need to get it sorted out. They should win this. They're the only guys there together. But we're coming to the white flag now. Matty Ray gets a big push from Bowen. Could this be the day that Bowen finally breaks through for one? They're all line astern again. We've got some big runs coming from the back though. JCW blocking for all he's worth, trying to get a push from one of the Valve cars. Why they're not teaming up together, I've got absolutely no idea. But they're not. There's going to be a big run coming together from these 3 though. So Bowen on the back of Matty Raymond. JCW looking to the outside. Valve looking the inside. Bowen now gets turned. So it's going to be Matty Ray versus JCW. JCW cuts to the bottom. Tom Williams is with him. He doesn't want to break away too far from them. Otherwise, Williams is going to get out and get the run and get the side draft. JCW blocking for all he's worth. He's been turned into the wall. And it's going to be Tom Williams. It's going to be Williams grabbing it for Valve. Williams has got it. We've got a lot to unpack in that last lap there, Mark, but Williams appears to have won.
Well, unofficially, he has won.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I believe Williams has won that. There's a lot to unpack in that last lap, those last couple of laps. Let's go back, if you've got the ability to go back for a replay there, Mark.
Okay, I'll have to rewind, but...
I want to get back to the point that Van Billion went around, because I think that just about kicked everything else off. So... I'm just looking at it myself. Van Billion's getting a big push from Jones. They make contact with Lefebvre, and then they kind of bounce around, and that spins them out. And that's them out of play. They all recover, which is why we didn't get that caution. I think we should have got one, honestly, but we didn't.
I think we should have.
Yeah, so that's cut Saddington loose, it's cut Brett Campbell loose, all those guys. So we've been left with the Valve cars together, and then they get separated, and they take a long time to get back together, which actually surprised me. And JCW is trying to block whoever he can block to try and get a push. and I'm just watching this on the last lap. It looks like Clark dodges to the inside because Matty Ray and Bowen saw JCW go up. They've moved up to him, and at the last moment, I think Bowen has seen Clark coming. Bowen's come back down, spun himself off Clark's nose, which has taken himself and Clark out of it. And then we've got Williams chasing JCW, Matty Ray side by side. JCW has the lead. He gets around Matty Ray, but he keeps his foot in it, and that's crucial because if he manages to box, if he gets off the throttle there, and he manages to box Williams in next to Matty Ray, then Williams has got nowhere to go. He can't pull out. But he keeps his foot down, he pushes clear, and then Williams gets the run, and JCW blocks once, he blocks twice, and as we saw with Michael McDowell here, real life, last week, that's going to end one way. Right? He's blocked once, twice, finally spins himself off Williams' nose, goes into the wall, and Williams takes the win. So, yeah. There's a lot to go through there. I'm hoping I managed to explain it well enough for everybody there watching, but there was so much going on, so many challenges building up and then fading away. That was Talladega, guys. It's just Talladega.
I think the stewards are going to have a bit of a long night ahead.
Oh, look, mate, I don't think that there was anything
malice.
I don't think that there was anything, like, just looking at it, I'm not a steward here, but just looking at it, that was guys throwing blocks because it was the last lap and guys not lifting, and that's just how it works. So, mate, there's nothing malicious. Dudes just do what they do.
But what a finish! Like as we see the results now up there on screen, Ed, Toyotas in the three makes, I should say, in the top 5.
Yeah. So we'll probably run through the finishing order for you. So we got Tom Williams, winner by 0.0 over Matty Raymond, got their 0.07 away. Norman Clark coming home in 3rd. Josh Carroll-Walden falling to 4th there right at the end. Then a bit of a gap back to Saddington, Jones, and Stephen Williams. They cross the line 5th, 6th, and 7th. And then we got Van Billion, Wellman, Jared Williams, and Shane Bowen. And that's rounded up. Lead lap finishes are top 11. And then going back to lap down cars, we've got Tom Neal and Tristan Koch. And then we had Scott Lefebvre finish 2 laps down in 14th. Then we go back to Brett Campbell, 3 laps down. Mark Smith, 5 laps down. Aidan Schultz, 6 laps down. Adam Ariel, 9 laps down. And I believe that he was the last of the finishers because I don't think that Carl Nedler saw the checkered flag. But our retirements, Nedler, Jaeger, Nankervis, Sumter, Allen, Aquejo, Drady, Phelps, Jordan, Beale, Jacobs, Tice, Butler, and Fint.
Wow. That's all I've got to say about it.
We did say it was going to have a sting in the tail, though, didn't we?
Yeah, mate. But the one thing I don't believe, we're now in the round 9, and that's 9 different race winners this season. Yeah,
and just shows how even the competition has been. 9 winners from 9 races. You can't really ask for a whole lot more than that. Look, that was pretty damn spectacular there at the end, I've got to say. Just Talladega being Talladega, and that's the kind of finishes you get in this with these very draft dependent cars. So, well, that's what we got. A few blocks, few wrecks, a few bruised egos, perhaps, but one very happy winner as well, I should imagine. So, should we get into the interviews, Mark?
Yep. Well, bring up our Kiwi friend, our gentleman sim racer, Mr. Norman Clark.
Oh, Mark. Hey, hi there.
Hey, mate. Welcome to the booth. Some great racing there, and congratulations on 3rd place, mate.
Yeah, well, wild squirrel finds an acorn every now and then, so yeah.
Mate, you've had a pretty good season so far. We've had a race win and now a couple of podiums. Sitting well in the championship. So couple of scary moments there through the race for you. You kind of sort of just hung back and took your time and come through for a great result.
Yeah, I was sort of in the sort of middle of sections of the race. I sort of fell out of the leading pack, so I was running with a different pack, and all the time just trying to make our way up to the leaders, you know. But then, as different things happened and so on, we ended up back there. But my last pit stop was really, really good, and that's actually what got me back to the leading pack, and managed to stay there. And then, as you saw, how it just worked out in the end. You know, the cards just fall in the right place, and I end up P3, so all good.
Yeah, anything to add, Ed?
Norman, I saw you make one aggressive move in the race, and that was that last little one there on Bowen, which ended up kind of, you guys obviously got together, cost you a little bit of momentum, but potentially pulled you out of the wreck that was still to come up there at the front. How did that sort of unfold from your perspective? Do you reckon, in hindsight, that actually getting caught up there with Bowen almost helped you?
Well, that's actually, that could well have been the case. I think just before that with Shane, I think my teammate got sort of next to me, so I couldn't end up going into the outside line because to pass the guys, and then I could see what was happening. So I did make quite a violent swerve down to the lower lane. But once I'd done that, I think Shane saw me and he kind of almost viciously turned down, and I just let him have it. Because, I mean, there was nothing else I could do, you know. If I didn't do that, I would have been run over by the guys behind me.
Yeah, I did notice as well, like you, and you kind of touched on that there, that you and your teammate did wind up side by side there for a little while, and we were sort of watching that, and we're a little bit surprised that you stayed side by side for so long and didn't get back sort of lined up. I mean, it's obviously worked out in the end, but what were you guys saying at that point in time?
Well, I don't think we were really saying anything. I was, I wasn't expecting my teammate to kind of get on my high side. So there wasn't really time for the discussion. You know, everything's happening pretty quick. But once I realized that, I had to duck down to the bottom because there was nothing else I could do. And then unfortunately, Shane swerved down. Mainly because he was probably carrying too little speed at that stage and was obviously needing some help. But I mean, I could hardly slam on brakes and end up behind him. You know, that's not NASCAR for the start. I was just too quick. I had to basically drive in under him, and luckily held the slide, you know, because I ended up, I think, below the yellow line, and then sort of slowly gathered momentum. And then Joshy, you know, Cattle Walden, they had whatever happened up ahead. And like you say, maybe with my incident with Shane could have saved me from a potential wreck there that was going on up ahead.
May well have done. That's all from me.
Yeah, thanks there, Ed.
Well, mate, before we let you go, shout out to sponsors and supporters.
Yeah, well, shout out to my teammate there, Tom Williams, winning the race. That was really good. And obviously the support all from Jamie and Scott and so on, Scott Lefebvre and so on. And everything simulated, Valve Esports. And then you guys there at Checkered Flag e-streaming and so on, putting on the show.
No worries, Norm. Well, again, congratulations, mate, on a third place and a hard-fought third place at that.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We'll see you guys next time.
No worries. Thanks for your time, mate.
Pleasure.
So we will bring up our next place, second place man. Nearly was able to steal the win for a double super speedway win this season. Mr. Matty Ray, the pilot of the 83 SRM car. Welcome to the booth, mate, and congratulations on a hard-fought second place.
Yeah, cheers, boys. Yeah, it took a while to come back from being a lap down on that one, eh?
Yeah, we watched you and Jones have a ding dong battle. neither of you really wanted to give each other any room.
No, not really. I just, at one stage there, we were both sitting right behind the leaders. So whoever's ahead of the pair of us is in the lucky dog spot, of course. And I knew that. And I knew he knew that. So neither of us wanted to give up that spot. But no, we ended up working together, almost getting back to the lead pack. And then the yellow come out.
Yeah,
and that set it up for the exciting ending. It was good.
Yeah, well, Ed and I were taking bets up here. Once we got that first caution, how many more would we see?
Yeah.
But I still can't get over that last wreck before we went on to the white flag, that the wreck behind you guys didn't bring out a caution.
Yeah, there was a couple. Even earlier in the race, I didn't see what happened exactly, but I think Rubes got caught him up in something. And yeah, I don't know, since the update, they've been a bit more relaxed on bringing out the canary-coloured flags. But yeah, there was a couple of times that were a bit questionable, cars getting into stuff and no yellow coming out. But yeah, it's racing.
Yeah, that's it. I'll hand it over to Ed for some comments.
Well, for a start, I'm going to call it the canary-coloured flag from now on. I'm going to make that a thing. But no, good result, mate. What was the thinking behind start? Because you obviously started right down the back, and that led to you losing a lap and having to fight your way back from that. What was the thinking behind starting at the back? Because I wouldn't have expected there to be too much carnage early. So what was the thinking there?
I didn't expect the pack to spread out like it did. I don't know if it was like a setup thing or anything, but we knew in practice that we had some fairly quick cars anyway, so I wasn't really concerned about pace too much. But yeah, real early I got broken up and I was like, oh, well, that's not real good. So just sort of rode it out. And there was a couple of times there where me and Ruby were in the line and it was like, no, I can't. We'll get up front and lead this because we're going a bit slow here. Because we were, sort of monitoring how far the lead pack was ahead. And then, just started chipping away at it, but yeah.
Yeah, it certainly was a bit of fun to watch sort of later on when you had that fight going on with the lucky dog and being just in front of the leaders and that sort of ever-changing dynamic between who had the lucky dog, who didn't, who needed to fight and who didn't. And with all the leaders running line astern, it was probably the most interesting fight going on, was that fight between you guys for the lucky dog. So thanks at least for putting that one on for us. Gave us something to talk about when everyone else is fuel saving. So that's pretty much all from me, apart from congratulations on the P2.
Oh, cheers, man. Yeah, no, it was a tough race, but yeah, we got there in the end.
I'll unmute myself. Definitely a close one, mate, for getting a second super speedway to add to your Daytona race win earlier on in the year, but it wasn't to be. But before we let you go, mate, shout out to supporters and sponsors.
Yeah, usual list. We got Ray down at Moondog, does t-shirts, signs, graphics, all that sort of business. Couple of lads at Aussie Canada that have helped us out, as well as our support, the charities that we sort of support a bit there with Alopecia Foundation and Tourette's Syndrome. And of course, you blokes for putting on the stream and broadcast and all the work behind the scenes. And all the teammates that showed up. We had Jake out tonight, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, for a little while there, we thought he was going to sneak us a back-to-back.
Yeah, we laughed about that actually on one of the yellows. I said, "Oh, look, you're in with a chance again here, mate." So, yeah, no, it was all good, and yeah, all the other drivers that come out, and congrats to Tom as well for picking up himself. Is that his first win? Is it?
First win.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, good on to him and Valve and them boys. So yeah, no, it's been a good night.
All right, mate. Well, thanks for your time tonight, and again, congratulations on second place.
Yeah, cheers, boys. Ta.
All right, well, that just leaves our winner, Tom Williams, doesn't it?
Most certainly does. First time, rookie season with the Aussie Outlaws, and it made a bit of a team change earlier on in the year, and it definitely seems to have worked for our pilot of the 22 Toyota, Tom Williams. Congratulations, mate, and well done on a race win here tonight.
Thank you very much. Yeah, hats off to all the guys right at the end. That was a really, really intense battle. And that really could have gone any of 5 ways. So I was just lucky enough to be there at the end.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I know I spoke to you guys earlier on in the week. You guys had a bit of speed in those cars, and it certainly showed there tonight when you dropped back a fair way off that lead pack, and you had all you guys had to drive far forward to stay on the lead lap and catch that pack again.
Yeah, look, we were lucky enough to get a little bit of testing under our belts, just to try and make sure that we were up to scratch and up to the pace of some of the other guys, because we obviously know, some of the teams in here, they are very, very quick, and they've got some very, very good setups going on. So we knew that we needed to just make sure that we were quick. When it comes down to drafting and just staying with the pack, you obviously need to be fast and you need to be quick. So that was our main focus, and and it's obviously as it turns out, it's worked very well.
Most certainly has. Ed, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, I think this is the first time I've had the opportunity to speak to Tom, and I always like to get a bit of an idea about people's backgrounds when they come in, and they sort of come into our little corner of the sim racing universe, I suppose. And the first time I sort of became aware of you was reasonably recently at the, I believe it was the Martinsville ANZAC Round, where you ran quite well there.
Yep.
And I just wanted to understand a little bit about your background, where you've come from. Have you done a lot of oval racing before, or is this your first sort of foray into it? Like, what's the Tom Williams story?
Oh, look, there's. I mean, I could bore you with the long version, but I think I'll keep it short. I've been sim racing for a number of years now. Shout out to Missed Apex Racing League. That's where I started, and I'm trying to convince a few of the guys to come over and race with us, because I know they're starting to develop their oval team. But oval's very, very new to me. Cliche, I know. I watched the Netflix doco on last season's NASCAR series, and I've been hooked. I've watched every race this year, and I find it fascinating. Just you got to get it right to be there, and we got it right tonight, and we're here. And my background is mainly GT3, and I'm very, very new to all the teams and the leagues, and people rattle off names, and it's sort of like expected that you're sort of meant to know who you're talking about. But no, look, I'm very, 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 very grateful for Valve for picking me up. They've been wonderful ever since I've joined, and this one goes out for them as well. It wasn't just me that got there. This one's for Valve, 100%.
Well, certainly good to hear, and great to hear that you're enjoying yourself, and you've become hooked on our favourite form of motorsport, because we always think it's pretty good, but not everybody thinks the same. Not everybody understands it. So good to hear that you've given it a try and that you're getting into it. We hope to see, obviously, a lot more of you. You're doing very well. The other thing I wanted to ask you about was just that run to the line, because obviously this race finished up very much like the real life Talladega Cup race, with one leader throwing a bunch of blocks and ended up getting spun out, and the second place guy going through to the win. So talk us through that, because the reason that I'm kind of interested to hear about it is because for somebody who doesn't, like, normally I'd imagine that a road course driver's mentality is not to keep your foot down and go through a guy who's blocking. That's a NASCAR thing. That's something that we do all the time. The guys who've been racing NASCAR, we do for years. But I would imagine that instinctively, a guy that drives GT3 and so on wouldn't normally keep their foot in. So just sort of explain the thought process as you were running to the line, and sort of how you what convinced you to keep your foot in and do, because that's normally something that takes us NASCAR guys a long time to get the mentality of.
Without being too graphic, there was a lot of clinching, a lot of bracing. First and foremost, I do apologise for the contact. I understand, it is a block, and I certainly don't want to be the one turning anyone around or being turned around at the end, because I've been there and I don't like that in both forms of racing.
That's a Talladega finish, man.
I try to. I'd like to think I'm respectful and whatnot, so I do apologise, JC Dub, and I do hope there's no hard feelings or anything. But it was just a lot of yelling and just plant the foot and hope for the best. If Matty got me, then he got me. If JC kept it straight, he would have won it. So it was just plant the foot and hope it works. And fortunately, bar some contact, it did work out for us. So yeah, it was hard. It was hard to, but I'm glad I did.
Well, plant the foot and hope for the best is pretty much all we do here. So, mate, you're going to fit in perfectly well. Now, the last thing I wanted to ask you is that I'm actually friends with your team boss, Brett Douglas, on Facebook, and I did notice last week he's posted up a picture of some rather nice team gear that you guys have had printed out. I did ask about a fan shirt, so I'm just kind of hoping that just quietly you get in his ear, mate, and I could get myself maybe a Tom Williams 22 fan T-shirt, mate. You reckon you could swing that?
Look, if I can, but I'd like to get one myself first.
Oh, mate, well, apparently they're coming. I've seen them all printed out. He put them on Facebook, so they exist.
No, look, I'm sure I can swing something.
well, that's good to know, because now you said it in public, which is precisely why I asked the question in public. So, mate, Brett, if you're watching, you know what to do, mate. Come on.
I appreciate that. Thank you for that.
Well, mate, a great race win tonight. You now make the 9th different winner in 9 different races. So you can go away from here tonight, being your rookie season, with your head held high. And Chalker was something off that only one other person's been able to do as a rookie, and that was Jake Saddleton last year, winning the ANZAC Cup.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a very difficult series to win, especially not being an oval driver and not being used to it. There's certainly a lot to learn, and the different types of tracks as well. It's not as easy as it looks. Like I certainly took it for granted a long time ago, but the more I learnt, the more fascinating it is. And it's hard work, and it feels amazing when it pays off. It's fantastic, and I hold my head up high and thank the team that got me here, and thank you guys as well for the series. And the presentation was very touching, and it was a fantastic event, and long live this event and the series, because it was a privilege and an honour to race in this one, and this will stick with me for a long time.
Well, that's great to hear, mate. But before we let you go, we've got to do it the official way. Shout out to sponsors and supporters.
Yeah, of course. Look, thank you to Everything Simulated, big supporters of ours, and RSW Graphics as well. We'll also thank Toyota, because they provided the car, or iRacing if you want to put it. Try to sound a bit more professional. And look, thanks to Valve. Honestly, the boys have been an amazing support since I've joined, and it could have been either myself or Normie up here tonight, but fortunately it was for me, and they've everyone involved in this team, sponsors, people, have just been incredible. So no, I'm very privileged to be where I am, and I am very, very grateful for everyone.
No worries, mate. Well, congratulations again on a great win, and hopefully we'll see you back up here in the booth in the near future.
Yes, I hope so too. But thank you so much, gents, and yep, lest we forget, thank you.
No worries, mate. Well, Mr. Foster, that is done and dusted for tonight. Really really a great race finish, great race win all the way through, and a great win for Mr. Williams.
Yeah, and I'm happy for Valve. They've come on really strong this year. They're doing all the right things to be successful, and building a team up from scratch. Even though you put experienced drivers in there, some experienced guys, some rookies, it's not easy. I know, I've done it. So yeah, building that into a competitive package, it's really good to see the way in which those guys are progressing and coming on, and just how nice it is to hear somebody who's our winner tonight, Tom, just being so, somebody who's come from a completely different area of motorsport, has got hooked on our style of racing over here, and he's just enjoying himself.
Yeah.
That's something so nice to hear, is when there's somebody who's unfamiliar with it, comes in brand new, they enjoy it, they have some success to go along with it as well. And that's just, that's what you want, because at the end of the day, nobody has to be here. Everyone's here because they want to be here, and everyone's here for some fun. Yeah. And to hear that that's exactly what they're finding in this little corner of the sim racing universe we occupy is awesome. So that's probably the story I'll take away from tonight the most.
Yeah, definitely. And well, that's a wrap for us tonight. But before we head off, we've got some more racing through the week over on Performance E-Streaming. Ed, the ANZAC trucks, that's going on leaps and bounds, and that series is almost done for the year. But that's a very close racing.
Yeah, 2 rounds to go in that. So yeah, still a bit of a championship battle on there as well. So we'll see how that all plays out. Like I say, 2 races to go. And then once that finishes up, that the Thursday night ANZAC races move on to the Xfinity car, and we'll have 12 weeks in that before moving to the Cup car at the end of the year. So, but no, the truck series has been really close, really good. We had Ryan Jones win our ANZAC race that was being held at Dover on Thursday night, so he ran a good race there and got himself a decent finish. So. Had a few guys join new teams. We've seen Tom Williams tonight. He joined a team, Valve, and has done really well. And Ryan, who's always been quite quick, but he's joined up with DPR, and is sort of now getting the results to go with that as well. So, yeah, good winner to have in that last one. And, yeah, there's so much oval racing going on. We've got ourselves in the E-Series and Outlaws over here as well. So there's a lot of it going on, and it's all positive. So, yeah, series wrapping up on our side pretty soon, but as always, we're ready to kick into the next one.
Yeah, definitely. And look, do yourselves a favour, if you haven't been over the Performance E-Stream, head over there on Thursday night from around 8 o'clock Sydney time, and enjoy some good hard truck racing. But that's a wrap for us. We'll be back next Saturday night. I do believe our little Englishman Carl will be back with us next week. So let's hope he's all well. But from us here tonight, myself and Mr. Foster, we thank you very much for joining us, and hope you enjoyed the pre-race show, and hope you, more importantly, enjoyed the racing from here at Talladega. So for me, stay safe, everyone. And we'll see you either on Thursday night or next Saturday night back here on Check It Flag E-Streaming. Good night and stay safe.